Hey, good afternoon to the folks online. Can you see our presentation? You should see the agenda.
Yes, I see the agenda.
Same.
Thank you. Madam Chair, the time is 4:01.
Thank you. Since it is 4:01, we call this meeting of the Cochise County Planning and Zoning Commission to order. In honor of the solemn 23rd anniversary of September 11, let's just take a moment to ponder or pray, whatever is your choice, before we say the pledge. Please stand. I pledge allegiance Thank you. I will now take roll call. Mr. Montgomery, are you online? Mr. Montgomery is absent. Mr. Limbach?
Present.
Staff, can you accommodate that? Am I not close enough? Chair Depew is present. Mr. Watkins?
Present.
Mr. Young, are you online?
No, Madam Chair.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Present.
Mr. Martsky?
Present.
Mr. Saunders?
Present.
Ms. Pickett?
Present.
Thank you very much. We do have a quorum. We have some ground rules. I'd like to read those now. Please turn off cell phones or silence the ringers. Also, please be polite to other stakeholders. No applause, no booing, no cheering. If you are attending in person and wish to speak, fill out a speaker information form and give it to the planning staff before the start of this meeting. Forms are on the table next to the door. The commission chair will call you at the appropriate time. If you are attending online and you wish to speak, raise your hand in the Teams chat and provide your name, address, and agenda item number you would like to address. The commission chair will also call you at the appropriate time. Your microphone will otherwise remain muted. In-person speakers must come to the podium when called by the commission chair. Use the microphone to capture your comments in that center front. Each elected county supervisor appoints 3 commissioners to staggered 4-year terms. Up to 3 commissioners are from cities. At least 6 commissioners are from unincorporated areas. A commissioner's service is pro bono. A quorum is 5 commissioners. Special use dockets are approved by this commission. A majority vote passes a motion. A tie vote triggers a rehearing at the next meeting. Appeals of special use decisions are heard by the Board of Supervisors. Appeal procedures can be found on the county's website. For additional assistance, contact the case planner. Dockets other than special use requests result in a recommendation forwarded by this commission to the Board of Supervisors. A majority vote passes a motion. A tie vote fails. To voice an opinion regarding a recommendation, you may attend the Board of Supervisors public hearing. We observe the following time limits. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes for call to public, 10 minutes for applicant statement, 5 minutes for supporters or those opposed, and 5 minutes for the applicant's rebuttal. Does anyone have any comments or corrections to last month's minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Martsky, thank you. Second. Mr. Gonzalez. We will do a roll call vote. Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Mr. Young? He is absent for sure. Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Martsky?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Ms. Fickett?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Minutes are approved. This is the time for call to public. Pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute, Section 38-431.01H, this is an opportunity for the public to comment. Individuals are invited to address the commission on any issue within the commissioner's jurisdiction. Since commissioners may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda, commission action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Do we have any call to public speakers? I have no forms. Is there anyone online? Hearing none, let's open the public hearings portion of our meeting. Docket RZ 24-13 on Fort Grant Road, applicant Cynthia Griffin. Ms. Griffin, are you present?
Yes, present.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, your report, or is it Mr. Coxworth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the staff presentation for docket RZ 2413. The applicant is Cynthia Griffin. The property is located on Fort Grant Road. That would be APN 202121010 alpha. Current zoning is R36. The proposed zoning is RU4, which would constitute a down zone. Growth area is D, rural area. The plan designation is rural. The existing use is a 40 by 60 metal building with living quarters. There are no proposed uses at this time. Again, the property is located north of Wilcox on Fort Grant Road. Subject property is surrounded by large acreages that are also zoned R36. Some images of the property drawn to the lower right, and a ground level shot with the building in the background on the left. And another drone image of the property. The zoning regulations contain 15 factors with which staff and the commission uses to evaluate rezonings. In this particular case, 5 of those factors are not applicable to this application. The application complies with the remaining 10. Factors in favor of approval of this application, again, complies with the applicable factors used to evaluate rezonings. Existing use is compatible with the established development pattern in the area. Down zones are beneficial in that they reduce the number of allowed principal dwellings. Staff has not received any opposition from nearby property owners. And staff has not identified any factors not in favor of the application. Madam Chair, that concludes staff's presentation of docket RZ 24-13. The applicant's present online.
Yes. Yes,
Thank you.
Present.
Ms. Griffin, would you state your name and address and make your statement, please?
Cynthia Griffin. My address is 8727 Timber Trail, Freeland, Michigan, 48623. And we would like to see this rezone to take advantage of the RU4 permitting of the existing building that my dad had built. Just get it all up to what your legal standards are.
Is there anything else, Ms. Griffin?
No,
All right, thank you very much. Stand by. We may have questions for you.
thank you.
This is the time for the public hearing. I'm calling for comments from other persons. Is there anyone in the room or online that wishes to comment on this docket item? Hearing none, Ms. Griffin will waive your time to rebut. The hearing is closed, and this is the time for commission discussion. Are there any questions of the applicant or staff from the commission? Again, hearing none. Mr. Taylor, a summary, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends forwarding the request to rezone parcel 202121010 alpha from R36 to RU4 to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval with no special conditions.
Thank you. I'd like to call for the motion on this matter. Mr. Martsky.
RU 36 to RU 30, to RU, from R36 to RU 4. Factors of approval constitute the findings and facts. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Is there any further discussion of this motion? Call for the question. Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Markski?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Ms. Fickett?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Congratulations, Ms. Griffin.
Thank you.
This item will be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation for approval. Any person not agreeing with this action should attend the Board of Supervisors meeting dealing with the docket. Item 2 is a combined rezone, 24-14, and comprehensive plan amendment, CPA 24-04 on Border Road. Steve and Arlene Eastman applying. Are you present? Mr. or Miss Eastman?
Madam Chair, I did leave voicemail for the Eastmans as a reminder of today's hearing, and I haven't heard back from them. They did state they may be traveling.
Has everyone had a chance to review this item? Should we move forward or should we table?
Madam Chair, it's always been our practice to table. They're not here.
I agree, Mr. Watkins.
Madam Chair, I would just, notwithstanding the commission's decision to table the item, this is a down zone, and staff is recommending approval of both the plan amendment as well as the rezoning application.
Isn't this the one where the comprehensive plan is going to be in a disparate area?
Madam Chair, it is at the fringe of growth area C and neighborhood conservation, but yes, all adjacent properties would still remain within those designations. It's not abutting what is being proposed by the applicant.
Mr. Watkins, are you willing to make a motion or shall we proceed with it?
Let's proceed.
Your report, Mr. Taylor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the staff presentation for dockets RZ 2414 and CPA 2404. The applicants are Steve and Arlene Eastman. The property is located at 653 East Border Road, APN 101480005. The plan amendment requests are from neighborhood conservation to rural and from growth area C to growth area D. The zoning amendment request is from R36 to RU4. Existing use of the property is for single-family residential, as is the proposed use. The property is located approximately 1/2 mile east of Bisbee Junction and 1 mile north of the international border and contains about 5 acres. This designation shows the property's location within the neighborhood conservation area, and as was mentioned earlier, it is not abutting any rural districts. However, it is less than 1/4 mile from those boundaries. And the same is reflected on the growth area map. And the property is zoned R36, as are many other parcels in the area, particularly those along the south of Border Road and east of Bisbee Junction Road, tend to be larger acreages with a very rural development pattern, which we would typically support a downzoning for. Subject property taken from Border Road, and a drone image taken from the north viewing south of the property, and another image which would be viewing southwest, and a final image viewing north of the property. So the current designation is neighborhood conservation, which is an established residential character. Typical lot size is 1 acre or less, warrants protection from non-residential uses. And these are most appropriate designation for platted subdivisions of smaller lots. Rural or sparsely populated areas with larger lot sizes and large expanses of private and public land. And based on the drone imagery, the subject parcel certainly fits within the rural category, more in character than it would fit within the NC category. And relative to the growth area categories, Category C, slow growing rural communities, small clusters of development, a variety of lot sizes, unimproved roads. And category D again would be outlying areas with a low growth rate and low densities on large lots, large tracts of undeveloped private and public lands. And this property actually would fit within either of those categories. There are 6 criteria identified in the comprehensive plan that staff uses to evaluate comprehensive plan amendments. In this particular case, 3 of those criteria are not applicable, 2 do comply, and 1 does not comply, as staff has not received substantial property owner support for the applications. So for the plan amendment factors in favor, the pattern of growth no longer reflects type of growth expected in the current designation. The growth has not, the density of the area within this neighborhood conservation district really doesn't warrant continued growth for some of the larger parcels, as it's unlikely that they would be subdivided into platted subdivisions. The new designation is harmonious with existing designations. 3 of the factors do not apply, as staff has not received any opposition from nearby property owners. Factors against, as mentioned earlier, does not have substantial report from nearby property owners for the plan amendment. There are 15 factors staff and commission use to evaluate rezoning applications. And again, 6 of those factors do not apply. 9 of the factors do apply. And the factors in favor would be complies with all applicable rezoning factors. The requested rezoning would still be compatible with the residential growth pattern, which tends to be large lot rural. The down zone is beneficial that it would reduce the number of allowed principal dwellings. The property could be subdivided into 5 lots now. The down zone would prohibit that, and it would maintain its 1 lot characteristic. Staff has not received any opposition from nearby property owners, and staff has not identified any factors not in favor of the rezoning. So between 7 and 21 August, staff executed the notification requirements of the zoning regulations, publishing a legal ad, mailing notices, and posting the property. Staff mailed notices to 32 property owners within 1,000 feet, receiving 2 responses in favor. And 2 of those check marks are for 1 property owner. And Madam Chair, that concludes staff's presentation of dockets RZ 2414 and CPA 2404. We are available for the commission's questions.
Thank you. We are skipping the applicant statement. Is there anyone online or in the audience that wants to speak to this matter? Hearing none, this is the time for commission discussion or questions. Are there any? Mr. Taylor, we should move forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends forwarding dockets RZ 2414 and CPA 2404 to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval with no special conditions. Thank you.
Call for the motion on this.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Limbach,
I move to recommend approval of dockets RZ 24-14 and CPA 24-04 to the Board of Supervisors, amending comprehensive plan designations and zoning district classification of APN 101-48-005 from neighborhood conservation to rural, growth area C to growth area D, and rezoning from R36 to RU4. The factors in favor of approval constituting findings of fact.
thank you, Mr. Martsky. Any discussion, comments? I'd just like to say that even though the folks aren't here to hear it, I think it's commendable that they're preserving the continuity of their rural community as they exit the home. So, roll call vote, Mr. Limbach,
Aye.
Mr. Watkins,
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Aye.
Mr. Martsky,
Aye.
Mr. Saunders,
Aye.
Ms. Fickett,
Aye.
chair votes aye, motion passes. This item will be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval. Any person not agreeing with this action should attend that Board of Supervisors meeting dealing with the docket. Thank you. Moving on, docket SU 24-15, Rocky Road Telecom. The applicant is Allison Squires. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Ms. Squires. Mr. Taylor, your report?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is the staff presentation for docket SU 2415, special use authorization for a communication facility. The applicant is Pyramid Network Services with representation from Allison Squires. Property is located at 5590 North Rocky Road. That would be APN 407-53021. Current zoning is R36. The plan designation is rural with growth area D, rural areas. Current use, there is a booster station on the property. Proposed use is to continue using that booster station in conjunction with communications facilities. The property is located north of Douglas, approximately 1 mile east of Highway 191. The property totals about 20 acres and is surrounded by properties zoned R36, whereas to the north, the zoning is rural, undeveloped land. These are some images of the property, ground level. The lower right would be taken from Rocky Road at the existing utility building. And drone imagery viewing south, viewing to the southeast, showing some residences to the back. And also this would be viewing west, showing the approximate location of the project site. Project site totals approximately 1 acre of the 20-acre parcel. The applicant site plan demonstrates, again, about a 1 acre project area on a 20-acre parcel. The fence compound is about 5,500 square feet. There would be 5 antenna pads measuring about 36 square feet, 180 square foot utility pad, and a building. This would tie into the existing utility building at the northwest of the property. The nearest residence to the project area is approximately 550 feet, or 550 feet to the west. Also want to note that the applicants do own the parcel to the west, providing an additional buffer. This is a blow up of the site plan demonstrating some of the details that we just discussed. The property does have frontage on Glen Road, so it would not have to go through any local roads through any residential areas. And some elevations showing the fencing that would be surrounding the compound. This facility is subject to the requirements of section 2.51 of the zoning regulations. Obviously, there needs to be engineered stamp drawings, regulatory compliance with any federal requirements as far as FCC, setback from property lines, edge of right-of-way. Maximum height is determined by the zoning district. The antenna on the property are under that. I believe they're about 10 feet. Noise and vibration nuisances are prohibited. It's not really known for these types of facilities. Facilities unused for 12 months would be considered abandoned. And the last, since this is not a tower, the last one does not apply to this application. There are 10 special use authorization factors identified in section 2.41 of the zoning regulations that we use to evaluate special use requests. In this case, 9 of those factors apply. So the factors in favor of the application, again, is complies with 9 of the applicable factors. This is a low to no water consumption use in the Douglas Active Management Area. This service would provide subscription internet service to rural customers who are otherwise underserved. Factors not in favor, there's always the potential of visual blight for nearby residents whenever we look at communications facilities requiring special use authorization approval. The applicant mailed letters on 8 July, not receiving any responses. Staff executed notification between 7 and 21 August, mailing notices, posting the property, and publishing a legal ad. 14 notices were mailed to property owners within 750 feet. 1 response in favor and 3 responses in opposition. And one of those opposition encompasses 3 parcels. So that's why you see the 5 X's. Madam Chair, that concludes staff's presentation of docket SU 2415, a special use authorization request for a communication facility. We are available for your questions, and the applicant is present online. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Squires, would you state
ma'am.
your name and would you state your name and address and offer your comments?
I am Allison Squires. I am a site acquisition specialist with Pyramid Network Services, and my address is 6615 Tow Path Road in East Syracuse, New York. And if I may, I am an applicant on behalf of Vertical Bridge. We do have the project director, Erin Lane. She is present as well, and I'm going to defer to her to explain and answer any questions.
Hi there, I'm Erin Lane with Vertical Bridge. Our address is 750 Park of Commerce Drive, Suite 200, Boca Raton, Florida. I'm project director. Would you like for me to go through the presentation that I prepared?
Yes, Ms. Lane, please.
All right, if you would advance to the next slide, please. All right. As Mr. Taylor described, a very accurate description of our project. I'm not going to go into all of those details. However, it will be a 1 acre premise that will contain a compound. Matthew, if you could please go ahead and scroll to the next. I know you've already gone over this. It will have a compound, a fenced compound with 5 satellite antenna foundations, and there will also be a 25 by 25 utility area demarcation that will be surrounded by chain link fence, and then we will have our own access drive, parking, and turnaround. Matthew, if you don't mind advancing to the next screen. As Matthew explained on the elevation profile, this one we will have a metal fence. It will be painted either forest green or tan, whatever the jurisdiction prefers. And as you can see, the antennas are only 12 foot in height, so they're barely seen over the fence. I just wanted to point that out. So if somebody is looking at this from a fairly equal elevation, there will be minimal visible slight, or I can't remember the word, but there will not be a visible effect other than the fence. All right. The purpose of the communications facility will be to increase the availability of fast, affordable broadband internet to communities that are currently unserved or underserved by traditional internet options. The facility will be linked to satellites in low Earth orbit. The installation is intended to serve as a connection point for satellites to communicate with ground-based network equipment to provide internet access for future customers. The network will serve a wide range of customers, including schools, hospitals, businesses, government agencies, and others operating in places without reliable connectivity. The service is planned to be deployed to many countries around the globe, including the United States. This includes locations within Arizona and Cochise County. This technology will provide a redundant and reliable network. The closer a communications facility is to a fiber hub, the lower the latency. Latency is the delay that before a transfer of data begins following an instruction for its transfer. So the closer we are to the fiber hub, the faster the speeds are. This proposed communications facility is on the same parent parcel as the fiber hub. Next slide, please. This is a diagram of how it works. If you look to the bottom right, in that lower right-hand corner, that represents the fiber hub. It would be any kind of connectivity, right? So we have a very, very strong fiber signal that will then connect underground through a conduit to the gateway station, which is our proposal today. That will then connect to satellites in low Earth orbit. And then that strong fiber signal will then be beamed back down to anybody that purchases the service and has a receiver. So that would be residential, businesses, farms are using this for farm equipment and agriculture, transportation, telecommunications, and any other type of infrastructure. Next slide, please. This proposed communications facility will adhere and comply with all local, state, and federal regulations. The Federal Communications Commission, I'll refer to as FCC going forward, is the ruling authority in the United States, and during their lengthy licensing process, they determine if a facility meets their stringent regulations and guidelines for public health, safety, and environmental compliance. You'll see that radio frequency in this chart that I provided, radio frequency is everywhere. It enables mobile phones to send texts, routers to power Wi-Fi connections, and baby monitors to operate. To protect the welfare of the public, the FCC sets maximum permissible radio frequency exposure levels. See how the different devices measure up. Keep in mind, these are all well below FCC guidelines. You'll see that wireless antennas operate at low levels, 0.1% of the FCC's limit, and on an intermittent basis. Next slide, please. Radio frequency and public health. There's a lot of confusion about radio frequencies, wireless devices, and health. Independent institutions such as the World Health Organization regularly conduct systematic review of all available scientific literature and continue to conclude that radio frequency energy from the wireless devices and networks, including 5G, has not been shown to cause health problems. The evidence consists of thousands of peer-reviewed studies conducted over 70 years. Here are the facts. Are antennas safe? Radio frequency energy from wireless devices and networks, including radio frequencies used by 5G, have not been shown to cause health problems, according to the international scientific community. The Food and Drug Administration, to cite one example, the FDA said, based on the FDA's ongoing evaluation, the available epidemiological and cancer incidence data continues to support the agency's determination that there are no quantifiable adverse health effects in humans caused by exposures at or under the current cell phone exposure limits. World Health Organization. Studies to date provide no indication that environmental exposure to RF fields, such as from base stations, increases the risk of cancer or any other disease. National Cancer Institute of the U.S. National Institutes of Health. Radio frequency energy, unlike ionizing radiation, does not cause DNA damage that can lead to cancer. There are a couple of other questions and answers that I have provided on this slide. In essence of time, I will leave that for future reference. Matthew, if you want me to read them, I will. But I think we should go to the next slide, please. Property values. Another concern that was stated by the public was, diminishing property values. Property values, desirable neighborhoods have strong wireless and internet coverage. Many factors determine property value. At the top of the list, great infrastructure. As mobile technology becomes increasingly prevalent, wireless infrastructure has joined the ranks in making residential neighborhoods enjoyable, accessible, and safe. Much like telephone poles, utility lines, and streetlights, cell phone towers and antenna communications facilities are noticed initially, but quickly become an indispensable aspect of the community. Studies have not shown a definitive appreciable effect in property values by cell towers. In fact, a recent study found that 67% of Americans moving to new community feel that reliable wireless and internet service is a must-have, more than attractive housing prices or commuting times. Wireless sets a new standard. 2/3 of the next generation of home buyers are wireless only, and more than 50% of the households have replaced landlines with mobile phones. This will also improve property values. Better coverage, safer communities. We know about all of the different incidents that happen nationwide. I'm going to go off script here, but this is critical for 911 calls and public health and safety. Coverage supports economic growth. Wireless infrastructure helps support sustainable economic growth in communities, enabling consumers to find local businesses, parcel carriers, and confirm delivery and utility meters to relay information. If you'll advance to the next slide, please. I provided my contact information, and I've also provided all of the sources that were used for this presentation. Please let me know if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. This is the time for the public hearing. Are there any comments from other persons, either in the room or online? Hearing none, I won't ask for an applicant's rebuttal. The public hearing is closed. This is the time for commission discussion. Is there any questions of the applicant or staff from the commission?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Limbaugh?
are your upload and download speeds comparable to cable?
They are comparable to cable, and they could be potentially faster. We're working on that part of the technology right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? I have a question for staff. It's been a while since we've heard what our parameters are for deciding health issues on EMF. Matthew, can you remind us of that? Do you have that handy?
Madam Chair, staff typically doesn't look at the health impacts. We're restricted from that. We don't really have the technological expertise.
It's that restriction I kind of wanted to have the commission hear again. Sorry, I should have warned you. There's a prohibition.
I do have a handout. Would you like me to read the entire or just the first two paragraphs?
Just a quick summary of that we're not supposed to.
Cochise County is legally prohibited from considering public health and cell tower application review under the FCC Act of 1996. Local governments cannot deny an application for a cell tower site because of perceived health risks if the proposed site complies with federal radio frequency emission standards. Similarly, local governments may not set their own emissions standards. The county is permitted to regulate the design, visual impact, site location, and zoning compliance of cell tower installations. Therefore, the county focuses on the location compatibility of proposed installations. For compliance with federal standards and public health concerns, contact the Federal Communication Commission's Radio Frequency Safety Program.
Thank you. Are we to assume that applies to these dishes also?
We have made the determination, Madam Chair, that this would in fact fall under those provisions of Section 2.51 of the zoning regulations.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone have anything else?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Watkins?
I just have a comment. Growing up here in Cochise County, I saw satellite dishes everywhere, especially at cable companies and stuff. And this is just the way things are progressing. And it's going to be shielded, fenced off and everything. It's going to be no worse than the satellite bank I see in Benson all the time. That's my comment.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, could we have your summary and recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Staff recommends approval of docket SU 2415 to allow communications facilities with the following conditions. And I won't read these. These are the standard conditions for permitting timelines modifications. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I call for the motion on this item. Mr. Martsky?
Hope to approve docket issue 2415 with conditions approved, recommended by staff. Factors in favor of approval constitute the findings of fact.
Second.
Mr. Saunders, thank you. Is there any final discussion of this motion? Call for the vote. Ms. Fickett?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Martsky?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It is unanimous. Ms. Squires and Ms. Lane, congratulations. Any individual disagreeing with this action has the right to appeal to the Board of Supervisors within 15 days. An application for appeal is available from the clerk at the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or online at cochise.az.gov. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is docket SU 24-16, Williams Road Cabinets. The applicants are Todd and Vanessa Maddox. Are you present? Thank you very much. We'll call on you in a moment. Mr. Taylor, your report.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is the staff presentation for docket SU 2416, a special use authorization for a cabinet shop. The applicants are Todd and Vanessa Maddox. Property is located at 3183 West Williams Road, APN 124-14036B. Property totals approximately 4.3 acres. The existing zoning is RU4. Planned designation growth areas are also rural. Current use of the property is residential. Proposed use is residential with a cabinet shop. Property is located approximately 4 miles west of the Benson municipal boundary. It's located in a largely rural area with R36 to the west and rural properties, most of which are 4 acres or more, surrounding the subject parcel. This is the applicant's site plan, which shows the existing residence towards the center left to the lower part of the screen, and an accessory structure to the lower right, which would be approximate southeast corner, where the current cabinet customization work is done. Some images of the property and the building itself. Drone imagery, this would be facing approximately north to northwest. Close-up shot of the existing residence and the accessory structure. The applicants do reside on the property. And one last drone imagery. One last image viewing south. Section 2.48 of the zoning regulations identifies 10 factors the staff and the commission use to evaluate rezoning special use applications. In this particular case, 2 of those factors are not applicable. Factors in favor of approval of this application are the compliance with 8 of 8 applicable factors. Factors not in favor, the business activities have resulted in a neighbor complaint and subsequent code compliance action. The applicants mailed letters to property owners within 300 feet on July 2nd, not receiving any response. Staff executed notification requirements from 21 to 23 August, mailing notices, posting the property, and publishing a legal ad. To date, 2 responses were received, 1 in opposition and 1 in favor. And Madam Chair, that concludes staff's presentation of docket SU 2416. We are available for your questions.
Thank you. This is the time for the applicant's statement. If you'd like to come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and then tell us about your project.
We're Todd and Vanessa Maddox. Our address is 3183 West Williams Road. And we're just here because we put up a structure. We're doing our cabinet business, which is just a small family business. Myself, my husband, my son, and very part-time, my daughter. So we're just trying to live there, have our business there. And, you know, it's not noisy. It's very simple. We go in, we pick up cabinets, flat pack. We're not doing any painting, varnishing. It's just very simple structuring of cabinets. And I know that somebody had said that they were concerned about wildlife. We haven't noticed any reduction in that. Everything just seems to be.
Yeah, as far as traffic, there is no traffic coming in and out of the property. I go to the house, I get the estimate, I go to the house. Excuse me, I go to the house, to get an estimate. I get them a price, I go pick them up, I build them, I deliver them. So there's never anybody coming to the property besides our family.
Yeah, we have no customers in and out. He does estimates all at the customers' homes. And it's pretty simple. I mean, we're not bringing in traffic or disturbing the peace or anything like that.
There's no, very seldom we even run a saw. It's
Yeah.
very, very minimal. At most, we're running, staple guns and a compressor, and everything is in the shop.
I think they were concerned about noise and things like that, but it's really not a factor. I can't hear it from my front porch, so. But that's all. We just would like to just have our family business at our home, and that's basically it, instead of renting another shop in Tucson somewhere.
Is that it?
That's final.
We'll call you back if we have a question.
Thanks.
Thank you. The public hearing on this matter is now open. Call for comments from other persons. I do have a request from Dan McBride. Are you in the audience? If you'd like to come forward, sir, name and address before you make your remarks. You have 5 minutes.
Won't need 5 minutes. Dan McBride, 491 J6 Ranch Road. The property adjacent to the south of this location. The area is a very peaceful area. There is much wildlife that settles in this area. I've noticed a substantial reduction in the wildlife that is present even since this property was first occupied. This morning I woke up to 2 does and a fawn just outside my bedroom window. There are no identifiable businesses anywhere near this property. Stand around, look around, there's some churches, but there's no identifiable businesses at all. The business is described as a 6-day-a-week, 12-hour-a-day, 4-employee businesses. My experience with other cabinet and woodworking shops is that inevitably there is traffic as deliveries are made. Lift trucks are moving back and forth, and as quiet as it may be now, I'm afraid that this will escalate in the future. That kind of activity is not compatible with the rural nature of this property, and therefore I oppose this permit. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McBride. The applicant has 5 minutes to address anything stated. Would you like to take that time?
Since we've lived at that home and up till today, I haven't noticed any reduction in wildlife. I see them all the time between both of my property and the neighbor. We don't have large vehicles coming in and out and forklifts. We do have a small trailer that is probably as big as one of those little white Connexes. And my husband backs right up to the door and the cabinets are unloaded there. We're not trying to expand and have multiple business, buildings there. We, we're just very happy being able to provide for us, provide for our son, who is also working with us. And honestly, most of the time, he's not even driving his own vehicle. We drive in Tucson every day to take our grandson, who we have custody of, to school. We pick our son up on the way, and then he gets dropped off and we pick our grandson up. But I haven't noticed any, reduction in anything. The neighbor that is to the west of us, he didn't even recognize that we had the shop or was even working out of that shop for months after it was already there. So I just, would like to say that I feel like that the lawnmowers and the weed eaters are louder than what noise is coming from the shop that we have. But that's all.
Thank you. The public hearing is closed unless there's anyone online. Hearing none, this is the time for commission discussion. Questions for the applicant or staff?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Limbach.
can you explain what a flat pack is, number one, and then number two, are your cabinets pre-cut to where you're not needing to?
Yes, the RTA cabinets, just like if you was to go to Home Depot and buy cabinets in a box, that's what I supply.
Okay,
I pick them up out of Phoenix, I bring them to Benson, I build them and I deliver them.
so there's no noise really with sawing?
I mean, you got the compressor running once in a while because you're using a staple gun,
Right,
but that's not consistent because it's just a staple gun. It's not saws and stuff that's run consistently. I mean, once in a while you have to do a modification, maybe a table saw, a little bit of cutting, but that's about it.
and then with the truck that you use for picking up?
I have a 2,500 Dodge pickup with a 20-foot enclosed trailer.
Okay, I was going to ask you, what is in general, the frequency of your picking up and bringing back? Is that like once a week that you go to pick up the?
One, maybe twice a week.
Okay,
But I mean, I do leave every day because I do estimates and like she said, I take my grandson to school and stuff like that. But I don't think that the business is creating any more noise than it would if we didn't have a business.
all right, thank you. That's it for me.
Any other questions? Mr. Taylor, your summary?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends approval of docket SU 2416 to allow a cabinet shop with the following conditions. Business activities shall occur inside a building to reduce noise, and activities are limited to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days per week. Material storage shall also occur within a building or structure. The applicant shall ensure cabinet work does not expose nearby residents to any offensive or noxious odors. A hard surface driveway apron is required along Williams Road. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I call for the motion, please.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Saunders?
I move to approve docket SU 24-16 to allow a cabinet shop with conditions recommended by the staff, the factors and favors approving, consulting the findings of the fact.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Limbaugh. Is there any further discussion before we vote?
I have a question on your last slide. You said on that one, and the one we have in that was put on the mail says 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. But it's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., right?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Martzke, thank you for catching that. Well, we did take a little bit of liberty in correcting the times.
Okay. It is the one as proposed.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Our applicants are not night owls. Is there any further discussion? Let us vote. Ms. Fickett?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Martzke?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Anyone disagreeing with this action has the right to appeal to the Board of Supervisors within 15 days. An application for appeal is available from the clerk at the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or online at cochise.az.gov. Congratulations, Mr. and Ms. Maddox. Everyone doing all right? Shall we move on? Yep. Next is docket SU 24-17, San Juan Dog Rescue. The applicant is Annette Engels. Are you present? Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Taylor, your report?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is the staff presentation for docket SU 2417, a special use authorization request for a dog rescue sanctuary. The applicant is Annette Engels. The property is located at 5520 South San Juan Avenue, parcel 10767-052B. The property totals approximately 1.1 acres. The current zoning is R36. The plan designation is neighborhood conservation and the growth area B. Current use is residential. Proposed use is residential with a dog rescue. Property is located approximately 2 miles south of the Sierra Vista municipal boundary, about 1/3 of a mile east of Highway 92. Property is located within a platted residential neighborhood with residential zoning and single-family residential character. The applicant's site plan shows the existing residence as well as numerous dog containment areas or dog yards along the perimeters of the east and west property lines, as well as the rear of the property. These images show the front of the property from San Juan. San Juan itself is unpaved. Drone imagery, this would be viewing to the west, with San Juan Avenue in the foreground, and another image viewing towards Ramsey Road. And one last image showing the existing residence and the approximate locations of the dog yards, specifically in this one, the ones at the rear of the property are showing them the best. And there are numerous dog houses within those dog yards. These are photographs provided by the applicant. There are no business signs on the property. We did reach out to the animal control section of the county sheriff's department. There is a fairly significant complaint history. The majority of the complaints are for barking, with a few loose dog complaints as well. And the complaint history goes back to 2005. Most of the complaints, however, have been within the last 2 to 3 years. Section 2.48 of the zoning regulations identifies 10 factors to evaluate special use authorization requests. In this particular case, 7 of those factors apply. Factors in favor of approval complies with 7 of 7 applicable factors. Private shelters reduce demand on public shelters. The shelter was operated for several years without complaints. Obviously, that is not correct. There has been support received. We have received support from nearby neighbors. Factors not in favor: noise nuisance resulting in a complaint and active code compliance action, and opposition from nearby neighbors. And if I could just clarify the without neighbor complaint, there were no neighbor complaints that resulted in an actual code compliance action by the Development Services Department, but there were complaints, noise complaints, the barking ordinance to the County Sheriff's Department. Citizen review process and public notification. The applicant mailed letters out on 13 July. Staff followed that up between 15 and 21 August, mailing notices, posting the property, and publishing a legal advertisement. Staff mailed 38 notices to property owners within 500 feet, receiving 2 responses in favor and 4 in opposition. And Madam Chair, that concludes staff's presentation of docket SU 24-17. We are available for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the time for the applicant's statement. Ms. Ingalls, would you like to come forward? Please state your name and address, and you have 10 minutes.
At Ingalls, and my property is 5520 South San Juan Avenue in Zella Vista, 85650. Okay, I'm living at the same property since 1996, and I started last in 2013, so actually this coming October would be 11 years. I was a dog walker at Huachuca City Animal Shelter, and I took dogs home, and that's how it started. I found homes for them, for some of them, some stayed. And hold on. Okay. The dogs, yes, they do bark. When, for example, police department, Highway 92 sirens, or what is it, fire department goes down Ramsey. It's like they howl. It takes not even a minute and everybody's good. They normally, there's no constant barking. When they bark, and they are in 24-hour care 7 days a week. I have a helper. I hired her 7 years ago just to, when I go to my business, I'm the owner of the German Cafe in Zella Vista, and that's how I support what I'm doing. And she comes, so she's there right now while I'm here. So it's always somebody there 24/7, day and night. And the complaints over the years, there's one neighbor, one to the right. He already complained in 2002. I had 2 dogs, and animal control came over and they told me, they called me and they said, we've been in your neighborhood. We wait like usually 10 minutes in the neighborhood. There was nobody barking. They only bark when something is going on in front of the gate, which is normal. Okay, so, and the complaints, I believe, came always from this one person. Nobody else had any concern so far. I'm in contact with all my other neighbors, and they said it doesn't bother us. We have this neighbor over here. He has a bunch of dogs, and yours are secure. We have a 6-foot wall I have around my property. In the back is a strong field fence, and part of it is a 6-foot wooden wall. So everything is in place. Over the years, I added. Everybody has a dog house. They have shade. They live there. The dogs who I took in, this is the last resort. They were dogs an hour away from being euthanized in county shelters, or they were found in the county. I have 2, for example. They were found by Border Patrol, by the river or in the desert. I took them in. has leg disability, 2 are blind. 1 was found on the side of the road. Was run over. I mean, they're all dogs, but no one wanted. No one. In between, I found good people, and if I find good people, I don't have a problem with it at all to let them go. But the ones what are there, they're minimum of 7 years up to 10 years, and depending how old they were when they came in. Some of them are 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. Where are they supposed to go? Shelters are full. Rescues are full. I would like to just continue what I'm doing. I'm not taking any more dogs in since a year. Before all this came about, now last year I decided, okay, I'm 62 now. I would like to just finish the ones I have that they can live out their lives. They're taken care of. There's a vet, there's a groomer, there is, as I said, a lady who helps me at the house. There's no traffic. There's never been any breeding, selling, none of it. It's only her or I were at the house. No, it's simple. For me, it's simple. I would just like to finish it. So I said, it's 11 years now. And by the helper is 7 years at the house. And when there was a complaint, animal control called, they came out, they said, it's okay, as long as everybody's taken care of, and I know your dogs are taken care of. And with the application now, this is the first time I found out, okay, what do I do now? I would really like to just naturally finish the ones I have at the house. I lost 4 this year. Old age, 2 had to be euthanized, 1 had cancer. So it's, I mean, I'm trying really to do my best. And it's the same with, if they're sparking, it's not going to be, and that's what animal control told me too, it's not ongoing. If a dog barks for 10 minutes or longer, like the same dog, then it would be in concern. But besides that, I never had any trouble with it. So I don't know what to say. As I said, I contacted all my rescue friends and last year already and said, hey, I'm not taking any more in. I'm getting older. Of course, it gets harder age-wise, but the dogs are older too. They're seniors. Where are they supposed to go? That's the only, they would be euthanized. I mean, I just want for that they can stay there, that they be safe, and yeah, and just all I'm asking for. There's no new ones coming in, no new anything. I mean, I'm actually slowly but surely on my way out. Due to my age, as long as I can finish these guys up, that's it. Is that okay? Yeah.
Thank you. Public hearing is now open. This is the time for comments from other persons for or against this item. I do have one request. Mr. Francisco Molina on Teams. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Yeah. This is Francisco Molina, 5533 South San Juan Avenue, Sierra Vista, Arizona, 85650. So I love what Ms. Engels is doing, but I have to be opposed to this for a couple reasons. Number one, I just want to respond to the way the application is written. It's written that there can be up to 40 dogs taken in. So I would love to think that no more dogs are going to take it in, but why was the application written so that more dogs are able to be boarded, right? So that's number one. Number two, I can't speak to before I moved to the neighborhood in 2018, but the noise has increased. And I understand it's not constant, but it happens often. It happens often, and if one dog barks, every dog barks. So you can see the concern there. It is with emergency vehicles. It is with thunder. It is with me going out for a jog. Third is a safety issue. Again, I commend Ms. Engels. I haven't had an issue with any escaped dogs, but what I have read in the application is that dogs have escaped. There has been instances of other animals being harmed by the escaped dogs. And I have 2 kids that aren't little anymore, but they're, 10 and 14. My 14-year-old can take care of himself. I taught both of them. If an escaped dog is coming at you, here's the best way to handle it. But if one escapes in a dog rescue, there's a good chance that there's going to be 5 or 10 escape, right? And that's a concern. It hasn't happened yet. I struggle with being against this request, but that is definitely a concern. That's just my honest opinion. So those are the 3 things I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on Teams online that wants to speak? Thank you. I have no other requests. This is the time for the applicant to say something in response to the speaker. Would you like to take that time?
Okay. Dog-wise, there's no more dogs coming in, not since a year. And I'm, as I said, my age has to do with it. And the dogs are getting older. I'm finishing. And how it was written up, this was not written up by me either, like 40 dogs. No, we're already going down. There is no more new dogs coming in. I have emails, I have texts where I contacted my people. My friends know the lady back there, she's my dog groomer. And my neighbor is here too. He's on the other side and he has absolutely no problem with it at all. The dogs escaping. Okay, I have one tiny healer girl, and that's the one what they're talking about. She went, you've seen the ironwork on my gates, and so she's skinny enough she can get through. And that happened once, twice, but that's the only one. I have the lock on my gate. The whole entire property is secure, it's safe. There is no going out. The gate, the lock on the gate is when I'm home or not home, it's always locked. My other small gate has been locked since more than 10 years probably. So there's no escape. I had in the past, when there were kids, the gentleman's sister was living there. So when I seen, and that was years ago, they were riding their bikes, I take the dogs back. When there's high schoolers and they had passed the alley, that's years ago. Then I don't have any of these dogs in the back if they want to bark at them. And I have a sign in the backyard too. So I'm very confident that this place is secure. There is no escape, nothing. With this little dog, she was found again and she's back home. And so now she cannot run the yard without supervision. And that's what I've been doing since that complaint, since she was brought back. And besides that, there was no escaping dogs or running loose. But I understand, but as I said, it's secure, it's safe. Do I have any other questions or?
You might want to sit in front. We may have questions for you from the commission.
Okay.
The public portion is closed. This is the time for commission discussion. Questions, please, for the applicant or staff.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Limbach?
So I too am an animal activist and have adopted and assisted with several rescues. So I'm very grateful for what you have done for these dogs. However, I also need to consider the multiple complaints over the years from your neighbors. 8 complaints from 2005 on. There were 8 complaints for excessive barking, 3 for dog escapes. Sure, if I can finish though. 3 for dog escapes. So according to the sheriff's report, In 2005, one of those dog escapes resulted in the death of a neighbor's dog.
What was it, 2005? What
Two-
happened?
A dog got loose into the neighbor's yard. Or I'm
Oh.
sorry,
Oh,
and
okay.
killed the neighbor's dog.
Yes, I came home from my workplace and the dog was hopping. He used something like a dog has or something, but was close to the wall and hopped by accident. He actually fell in there, and there was the sheriffs were there when I came home, and I got the dog back, and it never happened again. He pretty much just by accident he jumped on top here, he hopped around, he barked, and boom, he was gone. But as I said, that's a long time ago. Now it's 2024.
But if I can continue.
Yeah.
So in June of this year, there's a lost dog and it was returned to you. In July of this year, a complaint of excessive barking. In August of this year, animal barking, which was acknowledged by Deputy Williamson. So, I mean, the complaints are continuing through the present.
Yeah.
Let me look at my notes, please.
No.
Can you explain how you go about feeding? I'm assuming some of the barking, some of the noise comes during feeding period?
Yeah. When I go outside feeding, of course they get excited. It takes a couple minutes and everybody's okay again. They have the food in there, but they get excited. I want to be first. I want to be first. It's a normal thing.
Do you, when you feed, do you separate the larger dogs from the smaller, the more aggressive?
They do. There are some dogs, they have their own enclosures. They can, with roofs over them, they're like 20 by 30. And excuse me, my throat is dry. And they are out there since 10 years, 7 years. So little by little, I added what I could. They have their own places where they eat. Yeah, they're just barking. They go with me around the corner. I have the house and there's a garage house in the back, and that's where all the dog food is. So they all want to run with me. They do that with my helper, Deb Bales, same thing. It takes a few minutes and everybody's quiet again. They are not nonstop barking. Yes, when they do bark, you hear some barking, but it's minutes and it's not ongoing through the day. It is feeding time. When I come home, for example, when the lady there, Deb Bales there, and I come home, I park the car in front of the gate, and then everybody's excited barking. And it's minutes and everybody's calmed down. It's not ongoing, but
Oh, I
but
think
loud when they do bark.
that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Chair,
Mr. Gonzalez.
this is Sangu. I have a comment and a question for you. Want to commend you for what you do for these animals. I wish there was more people like you around the county. I know many people that have dogs, especially outside the city and rural areas and all that. And dogs are a valuable contributor and asset to these families because they provide security. And the way they do it, they bark. That's what dogs do. So it takes a lot of dedication and energy and resources to keep these dogs going. And I'm glad that you're providing a place for these animals to go. There's still a lot of animals out there, but animals, dogs in particular, and the many people that I know in cities and in farms and ranches provide a valuable service. And when they bark, they're telling you that they're working. It's the security system that we use to protect ourselves. So thank you for what you're doing.
They had like now with a lot of coyote activity. So it's imagine when you're in my yard and you hear a pack of coyote. They were last night before really close, like they were in the wash or something. Of course, then they all start singing. But that's how it sounds like then. And it doesn't take long. I can set my timer and I go and I clap my hands. And even in the middle of the night, I'm always there. I don't let them continuously bark. That's why I hired somebody too. Hey, if there's something going on, then we find ways to keep them quiet again.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you for what
Thank
you're doing.
Question.
Mr. Saunders?
How many total dogs do you have now?
I'm on to, was losing a couple, I'm 35.
You have 35?
Most of them are old. They're 7 plus. They're living at the yard since my old Huachuca City days as a volunteer since 2013, October 2013, that's when I started. And as I said, I have found for some good people, and for some, I thought I had good people, and they were brought back. So, but they work in my yard. It works out with the others. That's why I kept them. And once they get older, I never took in any heavy medical cases because I can't. That's too much. And but I have dogs with disabilities, or they're old, or blind, or yeah, and they just live out their lives there. So there's really no other place. I thought about in between going nonprofit. That was then COVID. A lot of people blame things on COVID, but that's what happened. I shut down my restaurant for several weeks, and then it was limited seating and so forth. So I stopped my application with nonprofit and focus back on my restaurant because this pays my bills and supports what I'm doing. And since then I left it. And as I said, I'm finishing up. There's no more dogs coming in.
Thank you, Ms. Ingalls. Further questions? Mr. Taylor, your summary and recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends approval of docket SU 2417 to allow a dog rescue with the following conditions. No more than 40 dogs shall be on the property at a time. Property shall be kept in sanitary condition. Refuse bins and feeding areas shall be maintained daily to limit odors and pests. The dog rescue shall remain privately operated with no advertising or on-site customers. Madam Chair, that concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you. It is time to call for the motion. Mr. Limbach? We'll let Mr. Martinsky make it.
Sure.
Madam Chair, I move to approve docket issue 2417 to allow the dog rescue sanctuary within village recommended by staff. Factors in favor constitute the findings of fact. Second.
Mr. Gonzalez, thank you.
And Madam Chair,
This is time for discussion. Mr. Limbach?
I propose we modify the language of the proposed condition number 1. And I've gained more information from staff, from legal, and even now from the applicant, who does not intend to take on new dogs. So the new proposition is not actually written in the handouts that you have. So I'm only my recommendation for number 1 is to read as follows. The dog rescue shall allow the natural decrease of the existing dog population through attrition and take in no dogs thereafter. So there's no cap of 40 dogs. And there is no bringing in of new dogs. It's allowing the dogs that are there to remain there through their life and not bringing on new dogs.
That's item 1 of conditions.
Item number 1.
Are there
And
other changes?
no, in speaking with staff and legal, this department has no authority to follow through on some of those other recommendations.
Thank you. Is there any discussion of the amended motion?
Yes, I'm not sure I agree with that, completely eliminating all the dogs on the property.
I'm not eliminating them.
You're saying that through attrition, they're all gonna go. Is that what you're saying?
They're eventually going to die. So I'm suggesting that we allow them to stay on her property until their death, but we're not bringing on new dogs.
But I think she has a right to have a pet or two if she wants.
Well, right now I'm speaking strictly for the dog rescue, not for personal pets.
Okay, I agree with that.
Good comment. Anyone else?
But as I read this, you say no more than 20 dogs?
No,
He has changed.
Scratch
it.
that.
Yeah.
change.
I guess I was.
Sorry.
I'm taking her at her word that she has no desire to continue this, but she would like to care for the dogs that are existing, and I respect her for that, and I agree. But I think also to give the neighbors some confidence that over time, the noise and the disruptions are going to decrease. I think this is a good way to go about doing that.
So can I get a second for the amended motion? Is
Second.
Ms. Pickett, thank you. And is there any further discussion then? So Mr. Correa, we call for the vote on the amended.
Yes.
Thank you. So the motion as amended, let's take a vote. Mr. Limbach,
Aye.
Mr. Watkins,
All right.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Nay.
Mr. Martsky,
Nay.
Mr. Saunders,
Aye.
Ms. Fickett,
Aye.
chair votes aye. It is 5-2. The motion does carry, Ms. Hengels. Any individual disagreeing with this action has the right to appeal to the Board of Supervisors within 15 days. An application for appeal is available from the clerk at the office or online at cochise.az.gov. And thank you, ma'am, and good luck with your family.
We voted on the amendment. Now we vote on the motion.
So we have to vote on the original.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The amendment was approved with nothing. And then voting on the motion as amended.
Correct. There was a motion to amend condition 1. It has passed. Now we need a motion to approve the special use with the amended condition.
And what if we fail that?
It fails then.
The amended motion also fails.
Yeah, because the special use would fail.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so shall we repeat the motion that's on deck or?
The motion.
To approve the special use as amended.
Original. As amended.
Okay. All right then, if everyone's understanding, let's call for that vote. Mr. Limbach,
Aye.
Mr. Watkins,
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Nay.
and Mr. Martsky,
Aye.
and Mr. Saunders.
Aye.
Ms. Pickett,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Again, it passes. Thank you. Let's take a 5-minute break before finishing our agenda tonight. Our last item this evening is docket SU 24-07, Dahlia Solar and Westland Resources. Who is representing the applicant? Names, please. Shout them out. Okay. All right, stand by. Mr. Taylor, do you have those names?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to give your report?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is the staff presentation for docket SU 2407, a special use authorization for a solar energy power plant. The applicant is Western Resources and Horse Energy AZ1. Location is 4283 and 4355 West Prince Road. This is APNs 407-17001 and 407-18003. The zoning is RU4. The comp plan designations are also rural. Current use of the property is undeveloped. Proposed use is a solar energy power plant up to 75 megawatts. Property is located at the intersection of Central Highway and Prince Road, about 8.5 miles east of Douglas. This is a rendering showing approved special uses by the Commission since 2011. To date, 5 of those facilities are either operational or in construction. 2 are in permit review. The property is zoned RU4, surrounded by RU4 zoning with some residential to the north, and that's a zoning designation that was assigned due to some of the smaller lot sizes. The property abuts state land to the south. This is the applicant's site plan. Approximately 400 acre panel area on a 597 acre parcel with 38% lot coverage. The red line identifies the previous site plan boundary for the solar panels. The blue line shows revised setbacks. All of these setbacks well exceed the minimum required 40-foot setbacks by the zoning regulations. A few project details, again, 597 acres, up to 75 million megawatts. There is an existing transmission line in the area. Phase project with up to a 50-year lifespan, approximately up to 18-month construction period. Ground cover, 38%, 12-foot row separation. The revised site plan does incorporate Department of Game and Fish recommendations. And as the Commission is aware, solar projects typically are very low water use. Some images of the property taken from Central Highway. And some drone images. This would be viewing to the southeast. And this would also be viewing southeast, Prince Road and Central Highway in the background. Section 248 of the zoning regulations identifies 10 factors applicable to special use authorizations. Additional standards are found in section 2.51 of the zoning regulations. In this case, all conditions apply to the application. Factors in favor of approval. The application complies with all applicable factors. This would be a low water land use in the Douglas active management area. Solar projects place limited strain on local services and infrastructure, generating minimal traffic and water use. There are no development standard waivers requested by the applicant. This provides a clean source of clean energy that offsets greenhouse gas emissions. Project generated electricity enhances grid resiliency and supports future load growth needs. Also, with respect to those applicable factors, the county's comprehensive plan specifically calls out the ability for the county to consider these types of renewable energy projects. That's one of the goals within the plan. Factors not in favor, opposition from nearby property owners. Fugitive dust is typically an issue that's generated during construction, and visible impacts may disrupt natural landscape views for nearby residents. The applicant mailed letters out on 4 March and had a neighborhood meeting on 21 March. Details of this are contained in the application. Staff between 15 and 23 May mailed notices, posted the property, and published a legal advertisement. And on 23 August 2024, staff did send out courtesy notices reminding those folks who were in attendance at the June hearing that the application would be heard today. Staff mailed 23 notices to property owners within 1,500 feet, receiving 1 response in favor and 8 in opposition. One of the oppositions covered 2 properties. And Madam Chair, that concludes staff's presentation of docket SU 2407. We are available for your questions.
Thank you. This is time for the applicant's statement. If you'd like to come forward, state your name, address, and you have 10 minutes.
Here, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Taylor. My name is Georgi Velkov. Would you mind just switch on our presentation? That's all right. Sorry. Is that better? Thank you. So my name is Georgi Velkov, and I'm here to represent the developer, Horus. As I stated earlier, I have a colleague on Teams, our technical director, Mark Pritchard.
Maybe we just need to move a little closer. Okay. Madam Chair and Commissioners, my name is Diana Sandoval. My address is 4001 East Paradise Falls Drive in Tucson, Arizona. Westland Resources assisting Horus with a special use permit application. My background is in planning, and I have 17 years of planning and environmental consulting experience. Joel Diamond, who's on the phone and available for questions, is the project biological lead. He has a PhD in ecology and 22 years of relevant experience.
Thank you. Would we be able to go to the project overview slide? Thank you very much. So Mr. Taylor has already summarized the project, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Just one thing to add at the bottom, where the components of the solar farm will include inverters, substation, obviously solar panels, and fire access roads, and we would be preserving natural open spaces. Also, just wanted to set out that there will be no battery as part of this project. So in terms of site selection criteria, there are a very large number of criteria that we take into account where when we select sites of solar power plant development. Over here, we've called out a few of those. Most importantly, probably will be existing transmission with available capacity that will reduce the need of new transmission to be built in order to accommodate our project. We are going to be using, in this case, the existing transmission passing through the western parcel, 69 kilovolt line passing through the western parcel. We also looking obviously for suitable type flat and wetlands or floodplains. On this map, you can see the flood in the line.
Maybe if you pick it up and hold it.
Okay. And you can see the wetlands in dark blue. The reason, as I said, is we're also looking for uncontaminated available private land. In this case, Horus have purchased one of the parcels, so the eastern parcel, and we also are leasing the western parcel from a private individual, which will allow them to receive additional income for the land. We've done extensive due diligence, and Diana will go into a bit more detail later on that, but we've identified no threatened or endangered species in the area. As I said, there's no floodplains, there's no wetlands, and there's no near wildlife preserves or official recreational areas that we're impacting. We've also worked very close with Arizona Game and Fish, and we've agreed with them that we will, due to the size of the land that we have secured, we have sufficient space to allow for to include wildlife corridors and areas that will be outside of the power plant that will be set aside for use by the wildlife. And to incorporate substantial, as Mr. Taylor said, more than the required setback from the property boundary to reduce the visual impact for neighbors.
In a matter of time, I'll skip over some of the public engagement that was already covered during the staff during the staff presentation. We have seen 2 letters of support for the project, and we've responded to several inquiries from the public and from different agencies. Most of those responses were detailed in our application and in the supplemental application. We met with a couple of neighbors on site today, and Horace hopes to maintain dialogue in the future with interested parties.
Thank you. So I'll just quickly go through the project benefits. Foremost will be the tax revenue, so increased tax revenue for the county, which will be in the due to collecting increased property taxes, sales taxes during construction as well. The project will provide green energy that will be generated on site, which will then further attract economic development in the area. We also, as Mr. Taylor stated, coal and natural gas power plants use much more water to generate steam to power turbines. Solar power plants, especially after construction, have a minimal use of water. Production of energy will occur during the day, which matches the higher demand for power in the daytime. And also a power plant that generates electricity locally will provide, it will enhance the security of the energy system, and it will provide security against failure upstream, like other generation sources or transmission failure. We would also, through development and operation, be supporting local businesses and the county in general by creating jobs, like a substantial number of jobs during construction and a number of jobs during operation.
We understand the concern about health and safety near residences pertaining to solar, and so we do want to directly address some of the misinformation concerning that. There are numerous independent studies that have affirmed that solar is safe. We submitted one with our supplemental material, a North Carolina State University study that documents PV technology does not result in emissions or contamination to the air, water, or soil. These panels typically contain glass, polymer, aluminum, copper, and semiconductor materials. Some panels do contain small amounts of lead and cadmium, but these are encapsulated in the panels themselves, and studies simulating the potential for leaching even from broken panels did not find a threat of toxicity. The panels that will be used for the project have no cadmium in them, by the way, and the lead material is soldered in so that it's not easily released at all. The project will use these crystalline silicone panels, which represents 90% of the panels that are on the market today and currently in use. Research indicates they do not pose a risk of threat to human health and safety. As stated in previous solar presentations, this project will be insured for loss and liability, but also be in compliance with the county's requirement for a decommissioning reclamation plan, including having a professional engineer revisit at 5-year intervals the costs to account for inflation and changes in material costs.
Thank you. Matthew again still spoke about the updated design. So this is still a preliminary design, but we've updated it since our application was made a few months ago, and that is mainly due to feedback that we have received mostly from neighbors. So we have tried, so we've addressed, as I said, is the visual impact and those concerns raised by our neighbors, and we have increased the setback, and I have like a few numbers to quote over here. So we've added 350 feet along the north boundary at the western parcel. We've added between 100 and 300 feet to the western boundary, and between 100 and 230 feet alongside the east boundary of the project. Panels that we currently have on the design are 545 watt panels. We are in contact with the producer, and they have informed us they are in the process of upgrading said model to be more productive. So they're looking to upgrade those to 585 watts, which will give us, which will give another 7 to 8% increase of productivity. which if that happens by the time, before the time of construction, which they've indicated that it will be well before that in the next 18 to 24 months, we intend to use those more productive panels, which will then hopefully further allow us to increase setback from property boundaries.
We can skip this slide since we already talked about those changes. I want to quickly go over some of the environmental commitments that Horace has made in coordination with Arizona Game and Fish Department. This slide lists just a few, but there are several others. Looks like we're at time. Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. This is the time for the public to comment, either for or against. You have 5 minutes. The first name I have is Kelly Sars. Help me out. I'll let you state it and your address.
My name is Kelly Savage, and I live on North Hazoche Lane, which is adjacent to the N&B Cattle Company, which borders this on the west. First I heard of this was Saturday. So there's been no notices sent to me. There's been nothing posted on the fences. Anyway, so that's why took me a little while to get up to speed on this, but I just want to do a little background. Back in 1935, President FDR got the Rural Electrification Act passed. He felt it was the right of every rural American household to be connected to the electric grid. I've lived on an island in Puget Sound where every house had electricity, and on a farm in a very rural New England farm where electric poles serviced every house, regardless of how far out they were in the countryside. Rural electricity and telephone service were given about a century ago. However, I learned via an exemption from the REA that the Cochise County Board of Supervisors granted many years ago, Sulphur Springs Valley doesn't have to bring electric power lines down the side roads without charging an exorbitant fee. So people like myself, we live off-grid. We have solar. We've had to put in expensive solar systems of our own. We have to maintain these systems. The panels are expensive, the batteries are expensive, and so on. To me, I really feel it's a slap in the face to have a whole bunch of electricity generating panels sitting right nearby me and I can't get electricity. That's my main objection, okay? I know there are environmental issues that people are concerned about, ecological, biological, whatever. I like electricity. I would like to have electric poles brought down, at least to my property line. That's my request, is that if you grant approval to this or any other solar farm projects, that they be required to bring electric poles down to the people within a 2-mile radius. These businesses should help the neighborhoods. They should enhance the neighborhoods. They shouldn't just come in and use the land and use the natural resources and we get nothing out of it. So I would just like a condition added to this permit and future permits on solar farms that they have to, upon request by people who live on county roads, public roads, who have gone through the process and gotten their housing permits or building permits, upon request that they bring the electricity to their property line. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is online via Teams, Christine Etchison. Are you there?
Yes.
Ms. Etchison?
I'm
Go
here.
ahead. Mhm. Your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Christine Atchison. My address is etusa.org. Good afternoon. My residence is adjacent to the proposed power plant. As a resident of Cochise County and a member of ETUSA, I express my concerns about the Dahlia Solar Project. I hold certificates from the Federal Emergency Management Program, or FEMP, in Renewable Energy and Battery Energy Storage Systems, or BESS. The recent approval of a BESS solar coupling and switch yards, which is the Three Sisters, raises concerns due to the lack of zoning regulations, setbacks, decommissioning, and cybersecurity guidelines. Cochise County doesn't have zoning regulations for BESS. BESS technology evolves rapidly, often outpacing our ability to create effective checks and balances. The cybersecurity of all renewable energy facilities is a pressing issue, highlighted by the CloudStrike hack on July 19, 2024. These vulnerabilities underscore the need for comprehensive regulations and safeguards. BESS systems contain toxic chemicals and meet Tier 2 reporting under the EPA due to the flammable and hazardous materials. Forest Energy's application lacked check marks for these hazardous materials. Thermal runaway is a common issue with BESS and can cause explosions and release toxic gases like hydrofluoric acid and carbon monoxide. In April 2019, a firefighter was thrown 75 feet through the air in an explosion at a battery facility in Surprise, Arizona. Residents near these systems are at risk. 40 feet or 350 feet from our homes is not a safe distance. The solar farm and BESS should be in an industrial zone for safety reasons. The application has numerous errors, including a non-existent right-of-way on my property. Forest Energy is a solar company and has no right to my land. The area is a watershed and floods during monsoon season. Cochise County even had to put up flood signs multiple times this year for flooding. I have young children and the construction phase will use multiple pile drivers producing around 130 decibels of noise for 12 to 18 months. Noise above 70 decibels can damage hearing, greatly affecting my children. Cochise County is eager to embrace renewable energy but faces resource constraints as a rural county. Our prime agricultural land, lenient regulations, and tax incentives attract renewable energy companies. However, once converted to energy facilities, this land cannot revert to agricultural use. From past records from Christine McLowan show the Commission is aware of adverse effects on neighboring properties surrounding solar power plant. The comprehensive plan states that projects should not interfere with the county's health, safety, and well-being. The Dahlia Solar Project contradicts this. There is no emergency plan for fires within the solar and BESS systems. The current plan is to let it burn, as water is inefficient to extinguish toxic chemicals. Hazmat teams are needed due to toxic gases, but the closest first responders are in Douglas or Alfreda. Both are about a half hour away. Douglas has only 2 hazmat suits available, and Alfreda doesn't have any, putting nearby residents at risk. So if the Planning and Zoning Commission continues approving BESS and renewable energy facilities, proper zoning regulations are needed. These systems contain hazardous material, require Tier 2 reporting, and a decommissioning plan. These renewable energy facilities can cause significant destruction and can be costly or even deadly. The county could be held liable and the EPA must be involved. I urge the Commission to consider the consequences of approving more renewable energy facilities under special use permits. I propose not approving Dahlia Solar and implementing a moratorium. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dan Baker here in the office or in the building. Thank you, sir. Your name and address first, please. You have 5 minutes.
Dan Baker, etusa.org. So I've got here a statement that it's not in a flood zone, but yet in the last application in that land, it says flood zone. I'm sure some of y'all okayed this. Do you remember that it's a flood zone? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is that business is registered 16730. Let's call the number the same one. Oh, here we go. REM Holding has the same. That's part of you guys, right? REM Holding? Okay.
Mr. Baker,
We're going to call.
talk to us.
Oh, I'm just speaking in general. We're going to call that same address and see what fraud is happening amongst us, you know? So. I just want to know their address.
Thank you for calling Hyatt Place Houston Sugarland. For directions, press 1. For the sales department regarding inquiries.
Can I get your address, please? Is there any other businesses operating out of this address? Well, I mean, is there a REM Holding or a Dahlia anything, any solar company, anything in existence? All right. Are you sure? Is there a manager around that can explain to me how a group of intelligent people can't comprehend when a fraud is happening? So fictitious names and addresses is a felony. Just letting you all know, this is a federal crime. All right, thank you. So now we're in a situation in our county that we're not even caring about the citizens. Us, we live here. And we're looking at international, multinational people that he's got a 60% failure rate. Yeah, his boss. Failure rate. You know, that's terrible. But yet, we're still here. No, this tells me we lack somebody to be able to go, hi, is this a real address? If anybody else applies in this place, you guys do all that due diligence. Where's the due diligence here? So I'd love to know which somebody's 120 million we're going to be and foot for this. And then he's going to skip. He's going to sell it. You see the game? I want to know where you all represent. If you're humans like us that care about society here. So we're Cochise County. And this is rural, right? When it hurts the rural, it even says right here, if it hurts the rural areas, we don't want that. But yet, we're right here again. Yes, 130 decibels will destroy any children's ears. We already have 100 tons of lead in this county now. She's lying about it's Chinese manufactured. And you have Chinese data. So I've got universities, I've got over 5,000 scientists and doctors. I would love some data points from any facilities you guys have okayed, but we have none. We don't have soil sample. I'm with the .org. Like soon, something has to happen. I want data. Don't you guys care about the community here? Well, is that too much to ask for some data? How hard is it to test the soil? But nobody cares, huh? And you know what prior, because you can never farm it again, forever. When your grandchildren's grandchildren, it's a toxic wasteland. But this is called green washing. And that's called corporate welfare. Without corporate welfare, even Diana said it. She wouldn't be here. She wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here. But hey, that's what you all want, right? To destroy. At one point, I thought I had some intelligence in the room. When can I get a soil sample? When does this community supposed to represent us care? Because voting's coming up and I see nobody cares. I've called you. I've called people. Nobody calls back. Isn't it weird? And then he even says, well, it doesn't matter if they operate out of a hotel room. Do you remember that, Mr. Taylor? Then he said, oh, I'm not voted in. So like, you can do federal crimes? They burn on fire. 80 people died since you said that statement.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Shame.
Next on Teams is Joel Diamond. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm the biologist with the proponent. I don't have a comment.
I'm sorry, are you going to speak?
No.
Oh, understood. Thank you. Present at the meeting, Kathleen Gomez, please. Name and address, physical address before you begin.
Yes, hello. My name is Kathleen Gomez. I live at 2350 East 12th Street in Douglas, Arizona. You know, I want to state that I'm not against solar energy on people's homes, on businesses, on, you know, tops of, you know, like in Walmart, of your parking. And I'm not against people in the opt-out committee who need to buy solar, you know, batteries or anything like that. What I am concerned about is that I don't believe Cochise County currently lacks a comprehensive plan for the development of solar farms, especially in terms of how they will benefit our community. When gentleman talked about upstream service, I gather that means Tucson. You know, many residents believe that they have that a solar farm nearby will reduce their energy bills. However, based on all the research I've reviewed, it's unlikely that the residents of Cochise County will see any reductions in their electricity cost, as the energy generated by these farms is expected to be sold to larger urban markets like El Paso, Tucson, and California. There are several key questions we need to address. Floodplain considerations. As you all saw, I gave you a attachment with photos that show the last rain. I think it was maybe in July. There was a lot of flooding in the same area. Has the county done its due diligence in researching whether this project is located in or near a floodplain? If so, what measures are in place to mitigate potential risks? Impact on property values. Has the county conducted a thorough assessment of how this solar facility will impact the property values of nearby residents? How close will this facility be to people's homes? And is the county adhering to the general recommendations of maintaining a 2-mile buffer between such facilities and residents? I don't believe 400 feet is enough. Fire safety plans. Does the county have a solid fire safety plan in place should a fire occur, whether due to lightning, wildfires, or other risks? Simply allowing it to burn is not a solution. We need to evaluate the impact such an event would have on first responders and nearby residents. Best use of the land. Is this truly the best use of land in Cochise County? While it may serve the utility companies well, we need to ask whether this benefits our taxpayers. Do we have alternative locations that could be explored, that are industrial, that aren't going to be used for grazing or for growing food? Security measures. What security measures are in place to protect not only the solar facility, but also the surrounding community? Vetting of HORAS, as you just saw. I went on their website, I looked at their phone number, I called it and got the same thing, Hyatt Regency. I asked, is there a suite that Horace or, you know, Dahlia Project, any of those names? They said, ma'am, this is a hotel. If you can't get a phone number from a website of a company that wants to put in a $100 million solar project, that's a serious issue. Before this project moves forward, these questions have got to be, and concerns have got to be raised to the community. You talked about a comprehensive plan. That plan is supposed to be voted in the spring of next year. There's going to be 2 new board of supervisors, whoever they may be. That plan in 2008 was the last time. They had 13 meetings that they got feedback from the community. That's the last time anything was done in getting feedback from the community, 2008. In 2014, U of A did a study saying that Cochise County could support 770,000 acres of small solar projects, 670,000 acres of large farm projects or large solar farm projects. I wonder if that's, and we only use U of A as getting that information from. I wonder now, that's 16 years ago that there's been a real outreach to the community to get their feedback. Do you believe that that's something that you can base, you know, making these major decisions on land that will never be able to go back to its original habitat. I really, really implore you, with this comprehensive plan that's going to be voted on, we need to take a moment, take a breath, not get excited about grants or all this green technology, and decide what we want for our community. What do we want for Cochise County? Do we want to be a bunch of solar farms where that energy is sent somewhere else? Do we want to look at one solar farm after another? Do we not want to be known for the beautiful skies, the land, the cattle, and what we raise? I mean, we need to be looking at food sustainability. I'm not against solar energy, but I'm against this project. And I implore you to think about what the comprehensive plan will ask all of us to do. And that's to take a real hard look at where we want to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is George Morin.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Morin, 4952 West Adobe Road, McNeil, Arizona. Quite a few issues have been brought up, which I've had a lot of conversation with the young lady and the gentleman, and I kind of don't get anywhere. They keep telling me about minimal disturbance of the land. Mr. Gonzalez, what are you going to minimally disturb with 12-foot mesquite brush? That's not minimal. Minimal disturbance of the ground. They keep telling me there is no problem with the floodwater. Well, 3 weeks ago, Rick Keykeeper really got the red ass. They shut his trucks down on Central Road for a week and had to detour them all around because they couldn't get through the road that goes through the middle of the Dahlia project, proposed project. I've got no answers. Will come to, and I've asked about other brush problems, and they don't seem to think it's a problem. I understand also that there is no answer from this Texas apartment building. If you got $100 million, I guarantee I'll know where the money's at. And I will have an office, and I will have somebody to back it up. I smell a dead cow. I just can't find it. And I really hope you guys will stop and think about this. Especially some of the boys, I never mind, I'm not going to go any further into that. And I don't understand why we have this, all of a sudden, this big rush to get this done, because solar in 20 years will be probably a very viable proposition. Right now, it's not. There's no backup for the nighttime. The generators can't get up to speed to pick up the slack in the afternoon when the sun goes down. I know that because I have a few wells that I've put in here. Solar, I think 9 to be exact. And I'm not really stupid about it, but I try to learn a little bit. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll reconsider this. I consider it a fiasco. And I don't want the damn thing. And I've got 240 acres right next to them. So I get a mirror on my 240 acres that I have to eat. And also there's another problem. What about the tax rate evaluation down the road? If somebody comes in and buys 100 acres next to me and pays $100,000, then my taxes go up. Even though I only paid $50 an acre for my ground. This is not California, this is Cochise County. And I'm well aware of what's going on. So there's some considerations we need to take into account. And I really hope we'll think this over. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Next is Ben Lepley.
Hello, Ben Lepley, 153 Main Street, Bisbee, Arizona. So you're kind of wondering where the solar jobs are. Well, I'm one of them. I live here in Bisbee. I'm local. I work all over the state and in California doing big solar projects. I'm really familiar with the impacts. A lot of the statements that were made here are really good statements that should be heeded when looking into the plan. But there's a lot of really bad toxic misinformation. And I've looked into this misinformation. A lot of it comes from the Facebook group called Stop Lava Ridge. You should look at it and then compare it to some real information from Department of Energy. I'd be happy to answer any questions in that regard because I've worked with the Department of Energy, Reclamation, Bureau of Indian Affairs. I'm working on covering the very first canal covered with solar panels on this continent. That's my project, designed here in Bisbee, okay? So some of that misinformation, that's pretty bad. Cadmium telluride, there's no cadmium telluride in these cells. It's silicon, which is sand. There is some tin for soldering. There's some copper, which come from the mines around here, perhaps. All right, anyways, wildfire. So these projects are designed with lightning rods all over them. The fences around them also have lightning rods. You can go look at the project you already built nearby. It's got lightning rods every like 16 feet. Okay, so there's also a control road around the project, and that'll stop any fire. Just so you know, I'm not affiliated at all with Horace or any of these folks. I'm just pissed off because I'm in the solar industry and I hate seeing lies and I hate lies. Don't lie. All right, next. Once that electricity goes into the grid, it goes to the first load. That's just how it works. It's just like water in a pipe. It goes into the first load. So it'll go to Walmart, it'll go to Douglas, it'll go to the canning plant. That's just how it works, and it will reduce electricity prices because solar is the cheapest electricity. It's cheaper than methane, it's cheaper than coal. That's why you're seeing so much of it. So it will benefit. About the floodplain, I've had this issue on my projects. All we have to do is raise up the inverters 24 inches or whatever the civil engineer says is necessary. That's an engineering problem. It's not a reason to cancel a project. I would encourage the Cochise County Development Office to really look at some of the comments here and develop things that promote dual use. You know, we should be putting solar panels on free ports, tailings piles. We should be putting them in parking lots. We should be promoting agrivoltaics where you have sheep grazing underneath solar panels, which saves a lot of water. I also looked up the water use thing. Apache coal plant up the road uses 976 million gallons of water a year. That converts to 2,995 acre feet of water per year. That's extracted, burns up as steam, and leaves the state of Arizona as steam. Okay. When I design my projects, I don't use any water after construction. We just let the rain clean the panels. So, you know, the project can be seeded with special grasses that somebody like Moroni can come and have the sheep graze underneath. That's called agrivoltaics. I would promote that in Cochise County through a development plan. Let's see if I missed anything here. Anyways, I would really encourage you guys to look into the misinformation on the Stop Lava Ridge Facebook page and really look into that stuff because it smells like dead cow. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lepley. Next is Mark Pritchard online. Teams, are you there, sir?
Hi, yes. Yes, I'm here. I'm the technical advisor for Horace. So, I mean, I can speak to answer some of the questions if that's okay. One to the First Lady, just wanted to clarify that there is no BESS, therefore there are no chemicals that will burn, or no battery chemicals that are going to burn and release into the atmosphere. And I can also respond on the piling sound levels. I mean, the levels that they were talking about were from older large piling rigs. We would predominantly be using small rigs, which would have a decibel level more in the region of 100 decibels. And obviously that would attenuate over the distance from where the piling's done to the boundary of the site. So it would be considerably less at the boundary. And yeah, that's what I've got to say at the moment.
Are you finished, Mr. Pritchard?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Next is Pierre Potgieter. You can fix your name when you state your address.
My name is Pierre Potgieter. 4300 West Prince Road. I just want to thank the Commission and the Chair for allowing me to speak here today. I've just got one simple question to start with, and that is, who would like to live next door to a solar farm? I don't have eyes in the back of my head, but I don't think anybody there is putting their hand up right now, because it's not something that anybody would like to live next door to. You wouldn't want them to move in next door to you either if you've been there before they were there. I do understand that there are certain points that the Commission needs to look at. There was always listed these 10 points. Is this property suitable for this? Most probably is. But there are other properties that are suitable for it as well, that do not have immediate neighbors, that are more isolated than this. Has it got good road access? Of course it does. Central Highway and Prince is right there. Are there other properties in Cochise County that has road access to them? Yes, they do. There might be that they need to grade the road or upgrade it maybe for when the project starts, but there is other property available. For them it's easy because the power line runs right there. They don't have to spend any money to build the line. But there are other properties available where the line is not too far away or where they can build. I just want to make an illustration regarding a pig farmer that was outside of town. As the town grew or the city grew, it started coming closer and closer to the pig farm. As time went on, the residents of the town were starting to complain about the smell of the pig farm. But you know what? The pig farm was there first. They encroached on the pig farm. And I'm referring to us maybe as a pig farm here, but that's the best illustration I could come up with right now. There's another illustration I'd like to give you, and that is, it's not a religious one, but it might sound that in the beginning. A man goes to heaven and he gets to the pearly gates. He gets issued a standard cloud and a standard harp. He goes and sits on his little cloud and strings his harp. Not too long after that, he sees this little black cloud coming past where there's a party going on. There's dancing girls, there's music, everything is going fine. And he thinks to himself, I'd like to be there. Where do they come from? Oh no, they come from hell. So he goes back to the pearly gates and says he wants to transfer. So he gets transferred to hell. And they're shoveling coal into the fires to keep hell burning. The devil wants to come and see for himself who's this guy that's transferred because they don't get them. He said, well, you know, I transferred because I saw the little black rain cloud there with the party on, and that's what I thought I was getting. The devil laughs back and says, no, that's our PR department. The PR on this has been great. But you know what? Hell is still hell, and a solar farm is still a solar farm. We saw some images of just seeing rows and rows of panels. Those are going next door to people's homes. And if we just look at the one up there on Bagby Road, about 5 miles away, up Central, it's an eyesore. And I actually feel sorry for the people that live right next door to that. I don't think any of us in this area thought that it would look like that when that project was approved. What I see here isn't a win-win situation. It's a win-lose situation. They're going to win, and us as the community, we're going to lose. How are they going to win? We're hearing figures like 100 million being thrown around. They buy cheap property, they lease property, and then they want to come and make a lot of money. These corporations come and they make money, but we are going to lose. We're going to lose money on our properties. Our properties won't be worth what they were. And I want to ask you therefore, please don't approve this project. Don't change the zoning so that they can use it for what they want. They can go elsewhere. There is the possibility to go elsewhere. There are other properties available. I've had a look and they're there. You just need to find them. They want to spend 100 million. Add another 100,000 to that is nothing to put a new line up or to improve a road. Why must they come and camp out on our doorstep and bring this to us? We were here first. There are other options for them. They can, like I said, move to other places that are good to go to as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Catherine DeMar.
Catherine DeMar, 6827 North Mule Deer Place. This is basically going into my front yard. I am begging you, don't do this. It's going to contaminate our land. They talk about wildlife corridors. Does that mean they're going to dig up the toads and frogs? Or are they just going to plow them under with the trees? There are a million places they could put this. Put it on a slag pile. It's not, it's already contaminated. But no, they have to pick a place. I moved here because it was beautiful. And that's going to be gone. And I won't be able to sell my property. I don't get it. You all live here too. How can you approve this? Where are the snakes going to go? To our property. The dirt that's in the air contains diseases. If we get those diseases, is any of you going to care? No, you won't. You can't do this to us. Please. There will be no reason to stay here, so you can find somebody else to get taxes from.
Thank you. Next is Kathleen Long.
Kathleen Long, 6809 North Mule Deer Place in McNeil. I'm right at the right next to the property that is going to be there. That will be my viewpoint too. I bought that property 20 some years ago. I bought it because of the wildlife, because of my view, my nighttime evening view. I understand that they had said there would be lighting because of illegals or whatever. That'll ruin my viewpoint, my view. The whole reason that I bought that property. All the negativity that they have spoke, I'm agree with, you know, for our health, so many things, definitely the wildlife. I have deer and everything that comes through my yard that I see every morning with my coffee. Now I'll have my coffee and I'll be seeing the massive solar things because like I said, my property is right next to theirs. We're face to face with theirs. Right over the road to my house. That's where that is. I'm on the far east side of that property from Prince Road there. That's where I live. I will be seeing that. Please, as Kate said, please do not do this to us. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry Hodges, please.
Barry Hodges, 6809 Mule Deer, McNeil. This picture that's up here, to me, is deceiving. Because in that top left-hand corner, you take a right there and go down, there's 3 places, and at Fourth, there's landowners. And if you go straight, there's 2 more places down there. There's one on the corner of Central and Prince. All those people are right there. I got a question for them, for you, and for all of you. If you'd lived there for 20 years with nothing around you, and all of a sudden they want to put this in, I want to know who's going to compensate these people for their property, because they're not going to be worth anything anymore. And they won't even be able to sell them for pennies on the dollar. So is this $100 million outfit going to compensate those people? I doubt it. Thanks.
Thank you. That's the end of the speaker forms I have. Is there anyone online, Mr. Taylor, that we've missed?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. This is the moment for the applicant's rebuttal. You may address some of the comments for 5 minutes if you choose.
There was somebody online that wanted to speak.
Hi, I did submit a form, but my name wasn't called. My name is Juan Kwan.
Go ahead, Mr. Kwan, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I agree with the speakers who spoke against the approval of this project. I'm not extremely close, but I'm in the community, and I believe that the key issues that were raised in the previous meeting in June, these key issues on the contamination, potential contamination of the water supply, the recharge zone, and it's seeping into the water supply in case of some event, catastrophic events, catastrophic failures that would result in fires, explosion, dispersal of contaminants into the air. I do not buy the story at all that electronics and batteries, that these things have contaminants that are not dangerous to human beings. Plastics in itself, when it catches fire, releases contaminants to the immediate people who have to breathe on it. And the batteries that, the battery storage system, there's no specification for it. The suppression system, there's no details as to how effective they are and whether they could suppress the fire should it occurs, whether it's caused by lightning or any other causes. Accidents happen, and in the one rare event over 30 years, if it happens and it contaminates the surrounding areas, all the people who live there would be affected. If it gets into the water supply, Cochise County is pretty much gone. We won't be able to live here. Why do they have to build in this area where it affects people in proximity of this solar farm? With the amount of money that they have, can they just simply locate a more suitable area that does not have near the impact for the surrounding people who live there? I believe that they could, but they haven't. And they just plastered over the aesthetic issues, the safety issues, the contamination issues, to claim that these solar panels are built in such a way that it does not contaminate. It's silicone, it's silicon. It is a disingenuous claim from someone who works in the industry, and it should be soundly rejected. Specific technical specifications need to be looked at by the Planning Commission. That should be made public so that we, the public, can look at what the components are, what the basic materials are. We do not accept their claims at face value. Give us the specs. You must study the specs. Until you do, there should be no approval of these projects to the detriment of those who live in the surrounding areas and to the rest of us who use the same water table as you all do. And I agree with all of the speakers who spoke out against, for good reason, against this project. I do not believe that they scurried onto some site that have unscientific materials. We're speaking from experience. It is an insult to just assume that we're uneducated hillbillies. We might be hillbillies, but we're not uneducated. We can read, and we have technical degrees. I would implore the board, the Planning Commission, to examine the technical details and re-verify everything, because the fundamental objections that we have not been addressed. The safety issues, the catastrophic failure issues, its implication on the environment immediately to those who have to breathe it and live by it, to its subsequent contamination to the water supply. Please do not approve, and please approve future projects in a way that does not endanger the rest of us. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. The applicants like to come forward. The public hearing is now closed. Did you turn in a form?
Yes, ma'am, I did. My name is Juan Kwan. I'm at 47.
Thank you, Mr. Kwan. We have you.
Thank you.
I think we should let you come forward. Be sure and state your name and address.
My name is Kim Vu. I live at 4679 West Prince Road, just down from this. As I was saying, they really didn't notice the public much, or they notified the direct properties that are around here and seem to have gotten 8 out of 8 no's. I couldn't understand why they would be leasing this property, which was for sale for the last 3 years, but it seems pretty clear that they needed at least some support because there is unanimous disagreement across the entire area to have this around. They have claims of the environmental impact not being very high, but at the very least, I know that to put up a solar farm here, they're going to need to clear this land, which is covered in mesquite brush. So to pull out all of this mesquite is going to create a ton of erosion. It's going to create so much dust, and if you've been out in that valley, it's even windier than it is here in Bisbee. My neighbor has eroded the plot next to mine, and the dust has doubled already, and that hasn't been any pulling out of trees like there would be for this location. So not only is the property value going to go down for everybody in the neighborhood, they're also going to be covered in dust for the next 50 years. Let me see. They said they're going to preserve the natural spaces, but they are covering the entire parcel with solar panels, so I'm not sure what that's preserving. They said it's not near Wildlife Preserve, but it is just down the road from the Whitewater Draw, which already has a solar farm right next to it. It's an amazing place, amazing nature. People come from all over the world to see it because it's a marvel, and we all choose to live here because the nature is incredible. They say that it's green energy. Maybe in some ways it uses less than fossil fuels, but also they're going to have to put up a huge lithium battery storage to be able to use this energy. And if you know where lithium comes from, it's being mined from the Middle East by children. So I don't know how green that is in the long run. Finally, there is going to be a lot of EMF radiation. There are arguments about whether or not that has an impact to our health, but you can measure it, and it is going to be much higher with that many solar panels around. And from personal experience and other people around me, you can feel EMF radiation. If you sit in a Tesla, you can feel EMF radiation. So whether you think that's positive or negative impact is up to you, but it does exist, and I don't really see the reason for it being here. This being a residential rural zone, when there are so many places in this desert where there aren't going to be hundreds of neighbors saying that they would prefer this not be put up next to us. So just beg you guys, like everybody else, to say no, because this is our only way to oppose this coming up in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're up to the applicant's rebuttal.
Thank you. Still, before our time starts, could I ask, if possible, the commission to allow us for a bit more than 5 minutes, we can address all concerns, if that's an option?
If it's just one or two, but It's, yeah.
Okay, we'll try to address as many as possible. So first thing I want to state, I've made it clear from my presentation. My colleague said it on the phone. There will be no battery. We haven't applied for battery with this application. So there will be no battery, no hazardous materials on site. With regards to the address, I will call our legal counsel, if I may, who is based in Texas. This is an address and office that he's renting. He's listed.
Folks, we can,
It's the same.
it's
Okay.
their turn now.
I'll put him on speaker. While we're waiting for that. Tony? Hi, Tony. This is Georgi. I'm putting you on a speaker now. If you can just make a statement about the address.
Yes. Hi, my name is Anthony Frederick Newton. For the past 24 years now, I've been licensed to practice law in the state of Texas. My bar number is 2402-9743. The address in question is listed on the State Bar of Texas website as my business address. I've been using it as the last 4 years. I started from 2020 to 2022, so I'd have an ultra-sanitary place to meet people during COVID. Since 2022 to the present, I've used a conference room because of Zoom and Teams, I don't need to meet people in person as often. If you want to confirm this information, you can call Megan Wright, the Director of Sales at the Hyatt Place in Sugar Land, during normal business hours. Any other questions?
No, thank you, Tony. Also, just wanted to quickly address with regard to the property values that was brought up by several of our neighbors. We've done extensive research on that matter. There are plenty out there that we can share with the commission or with the neighbors if they require that, and they're inconclusive and show plus minus 5 to 8% variation in property value. In terms of the construction noise, we will abide by the county's requirement for construction noise, so that will not be an issue. Also, with regards to the construction timeline of 12 to 18 months, that's not 12 to 18 months continuous pallet driving and noisy construction. A lot of that will be spent connecting panels. What else? With regards to the selection of the location, again, I know people are saying there could be other parcels that are suitable, but we've done extensive research in Cochise County and neighboring counties. And as I mentioned earlier, there are a number of factors that we need to consider. It's not just about there's no neighbors around, as much as we'd love to do those as far away from everyone so we can avoid all this. There are a number of factors we need to consider, and this was the most suitable option that we found. And was there a couple of things you wanted to address?
There's a couple over and above items that I wanted to point out about the design. The setback that's required for solar farms is 40 feet. There's as much as 1,000 feet setback for the project along the northeast corner of where Mule Deer and Prince meet is the largest, nearly 300 feet on most of the other sides. The views will be largely preserved from residences. When you're up on Central, you're gonna see it more, right? It's raised. But the low profile of the equipment is also another thing to point out. We're allowed to go up to 20 feet. 8 to 10 feet is what is proposed. If something needs to be raised for flooding, another 2 feet. So 10 to 12 at the most, adjusted. So just wanted to point that out. A couple things that I didn't get to talk to was preserving dark skies. The fixtures that are out here are going to be hooded or shielded and pointed toward the interior of the project site. The exception to that would be at the substation, but that's at the far south corner of the project. The project isn't going to produce any emissions or odors or noise once it's in operation. That's going to be, detectable by residential areas.
We covered most of that.
So we're happy to address anything in more detail that the commission has questions about. Thank you.
We'll let you know. Thank you. public hearing is now closed on this matter. This is the time for commission discussion. Entertain your questions, Mr. Martsky. Mr. Gonzalez?
I have a couple of questions and comments. You know, Georgie and Diana, understand that I'm not opposed to solar energy.
Either am I, Drew.
We're not there. We're not there yet. The site that you picked, unfortunately, has a very fragile balance of natural resources. Regardless of all the details that you talked about here and all that, it is a major wildlife corridor. And it has a lot of native vegetation that you're not going to bring back because you're going to blade all that and we're going to end up with bare soil. And the land, it's questionable. I don't see any soil samples that were taken now and then every year after that and made available to us, the public, so that we know what's happening with those soils and that vegetation. It's a major wildlife avian corridor. In other areas where we put solar panels, some of those birds that we have think that that's water. They crash into them. And I've been trying to get the owners of these companies to go out there and pick up the dead birds every day and let us know what's going on. So that's not a real cool thing. I believe that we can coexist and eventually we'll be using electricity from solar panels, but we're not there yet. You guys are moving too fast. The community is not there to support you. Property values, say what you will. Nobody wants to be within a mile of solar panels. I don't care what your advisors tell you. Go talk to the people there that own the property. It's not going to happen. And another thing is, I'm not clear on the implications, the environmental implications with impacts on the aquifer and that kind of thing. You say it uses very little water. You're going to have more erosion. All the water that's shed from that side goes into Mexico. We share that aquifer with them. We share the wildlife with them. We share all that stuff. Nobody's talked to those people. I think you have some very interesting technology, but I don't think you have the right place. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders.
Now, we respond or is it up to you?
No, not unless he asks you a question. Thank you.
My concern, one of my concerns would be, I've heard nothing about because we have Cochise College Airport that does student flying. Does the solar panels affect anything with the aircraft or the communications or?
It will have an operator communication.
What's that? Yeah, I can ask you, have you looked into?
Yes, they will have an operator.
No, sir. You're Mr. Baker, right? No. The applicant, please, may answer the question.
The, excuse me, modern solar panels do incorporate low glare technology. That'll be a condition that's proposed, I understand. There's also a series of other approvals that the project will have to go through, including the FAA and the Department of Defense Siting and Clearinghouse. We've already reached out to them to provide them with information about the project to see if they have any concerns at all.
Would that not be done before you come here?
There's a lot of different approvals that need to happen. This is actually one of the first that typically happen because it's required for so many other things.
Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez, you have
The question that I had, and I didn't ask you, is why do you only own half of the site? You lease the other half, and if so, for how long?
The other landowner have decided to not sell the property. I decided that he'd prefer to have a lease due to the nature of the business that we're in. And it's a long-term lease for him. It's a 30-year lease.
Ms. Fickett, questions?
I do have a question. We've approached this up in my part of the county also with various things. And one of the big concerns is the taxpayers' concerns. If this solar site goes in, and yes, the value of that property, those taxes are significantly going to go up, which Cochise County can use those taxes seriously. But what does that do to the bordering taxpayers' property? Does that increase their taxes also?
That's your view.
I think the county has to answer that one. They can't.
I'm not the county assessor. I couldn't answer that question. But what I do know is your property is assessed for the use of your property. So if it's residential, adjacent property, if it's a commercial next to you, it doesn't negatively affect you as a residential something.
Okay. You know, that's a lot of the concerns of a lot of people is how they feel about it. As for whether their property goes down in value or up, I have no idea. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Watkins.
Why I'm really conflicted. I'm probably the most pro-solar person on this board. But when I took this position on this board, I decided I would listen to my neighbors, and I will not force something on my neighbors. That said, I also looked at, all right, this 597 acres, if you broke it down into 4-acre home sites, that's almost 150 homes. What kind of damage does that do? Granted, it's in a floodplain and all that, and you wouldn't get that many homes, but there's all kinds of things that come with development. One thing I've heard is that this land can never revert back to agriculture. You could never grow anything on it. Well, one, it doesn't have any water rights, so forget about growing any crops. Two, you could put cattle on it, but George, how many cattle will that property handle? Don't answer, just it's a question. Yeah. Okay. All right. I shouldn't have asked you, but anyways, have you asked for an APS tie-in? Or is that down the road?
It's part of the process. So APS and a lot of other utilities have taken the request from FERC to change their tariffs, and therefore this is a prerequisite for us to be able to have a meaningful conversation with them to prove our readiness for interconnection.
Sometimes I feel we're putting the cart before the horse by doing this, but
not our choice.
That's the way it is. There was somebody brought up about the electric going elsewhere. I personally have benefited from the solar plants that have gone in because Sulphur Springs has a program where they can shut your pumps off for a period of time every day because of power. We saw that last week because of the heat wave in California. But that's the first time this summer we've been shut off. So we're benefiting from solar plants. But I've also heard it said that this is not the right place. And sure, you got to do transmission lines and stuff like that, but I've thought for a long time the tailings pile dumps and ponds and everything were the mines. What a perfect way for Freeport to say, hey, we're helping the environment. But it would just take some conversation. My first thought was, well, put windmills up. But I'd much rather have solar panels. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Mr. Limbach?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to address the emergency management plan. I did read your supplemental report carefully. I just wanted to read a portion of this so the public could hear it. Quote, the applicant has drafted an emergency management plan This draft was provided to the Cochise County Emergency Management Contact in March 2024, but has not yet been finalized since the details of the equipment to be used are not yet finalized. The emergency management plan addresses points of contact, communication, training, medical care, fire prevention, special hazards associated with solar systems, fire response for small, large, and wildfires, welding and open flame work, site maintenance and housekeeping, fire safety prevention, plan amendments and distribution, and incident reporting. What is the current status of the emergency management plan?
As you have just read, so a lot of the equipment, as we said, this is a proposed design with proposed equipment that is currently available. When we get closer to construction and we have some assurance from the utility companies that we can connect it as of a certain date, we can start ordering said equipment, and that's when this plan will be finalized.
That includes the substation as well, which we haven't gone into detail to design yet. It'll take some input from APS as well.
So substations are owned and operated by utility companies. They're not, they would not allow the power producer to do so. So that's something that they would have to feed information into us.
Thank you for that answer. So I also, through a county website, I noticed that the Cochise County Community Wildfire Protection Plan, which is not you, that's Cochise County, was last updated in 2014. And I did not notice any substantial addressing of emergency risks with photovoltaic solar system projects. So we've got, it's difficult for me personally to make an informed decision when I have no idea what the emergency plan is, either from you or from Cochise County. I only have one other question. How many, if any, interconnect agreements do you have with any power companies within Cochise County? And I'm talking about signed and
as I've stated earlier, they required this as part of the process of the interconnection. So we do not have any agreement so far, since they're asking us to have the permits before we're able to apply.
Just to note, they're utility scale solar that's developed by a developer like Horse, and then proposals like that, you know, when APCO came before you. And so they might have a lot more information that developers might not have because the interconnect agreements are not finalized yet and can't be finalized yet.
do you have, to your best knowledge, are there interconnect agreements with power companies within Cochise County that are waiting?
Not from APS.
So is it fair to say that as of, if that's the case, that Cochise County residents are not going to be benefiting from your project?
You saying they're not going to be benefiting?
No, I'm asking.
They will be benefiting. As the gentleman mentioned earlier, generation of power. So there's a difference between, where power is actually used and where power as a financial product is sold. So PPAs can be, so for example, if we end up having an interconnection agreement with APS, APS can have a sales agreement with whoever they decide, and they sell those as green credits, they sell those as just power packages, financial products. Power is used as at the nearest load. So if power is generated in Cochise County, it will be used in Cochise County. That's where APS does not have any generation currently in the county.
Oh, thank you.
Is that it? Any follow, Mr. Martsky?
I do have a question. Do you have any agreements with any organizations outside of Cochise County? You talk about APS. APS is very little capability in this area right now. The rest of it is supplied by cooperatives in Cochise County.
Cochise County has any with cooperatives other than, yes, Arizona Public Service has been here very early when they were buying from the government. Do you have any contracts with anybody at the present time for any nominal amount?
For this project, no. Again, as I said, is the reason why we've given APS as an example is that's the transmission line that is passing through the property. That same line connects into SSVC substation, I believe 6 miles up Central Highway. We've started discussions with SSVC as well. But at the moment, as I said, is this permit is a prerequisite for any meaningful conversations with not only APS but other utilities as well, or cooperatives, to effectively show them that these are not speculative projects, and we have made certain progress towards ensuring the viability of the project. Nope. Nope. Our contract, our interconnection agreement will be with the immediate either APS or SSVC, whoever operates the transmission network. So the utilities or cooperatives operated transmission network. We have no right to sell into California. That's something that, again, utilities sell as packaged products that they trade credits.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Watkins.
I have one question. Do you have any current projects or past projects that we could find information on? Or is this your first project?
In Cochise County is our first project.
Anywhere.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Okay. Example?
Yeah, we have projects in Texas. We have projects in Colorado, and we have one project in New Mexico as well.
Under what name?
Excuse me?
Under what name or names?
So each of the projects will have a company that effectively holds all the permits and leases in itself. That cannot be with Horus. And each of those companies, I can ask our legal counsel. I can provide names of companies if that helps.
Just any name. Something that where I could find information on how you guys handle the project, how it's doing, whatever. I mean, we don't really know anything about your company.
Yeah, we can provide the commission. I will request our counsel to send us that information. I can provide it through the planner if that's acceptable to the commission.
Sure.
Up with them and then we'll go to you. I want to follow up on what Nathan is asking you. These projects are all driven by federal funding. Who is receiving the federal funding? Who's at the top of your food chain? What's the name of the company?
It's Horus Partners US Limited, I believe, at the end. Yeah, the parent company.
Located in?
Excuse me?
Where?
Oh, the address is in Sugar Land, I believe. I'll double check with our legal counsel. We have our company is headquartered in London in the United Kingdom, but I believe the company is registered at the previous stated address. I can provide that information as well if it helps.
I'm just wondering where the money goes. We pay our taxes, the federal government gives it back to the solar companies, and it goes overseas, from what I can figure out on this project.
It's so we don't receive funding. There are currently tax credits or tax breaks for when the construction of the project is happening. And it's a proportion of the cost of the project, but also for federal taxes. It does not apply for any county taxes that the project will be paying.
There are different kinds of grants that are available for solar projects or different kinds of incentives that have been offered in time. I think back in 2010, there was something like that. on some projects that I worked on. Those are typically going to involve National Environmental Policy Act review. If there's, if there's a trigger for federal involvement like funding or some kind of discretionary review, this project doesn't involve that. It comes down to purely, tax incentives for the developer.
Tax incentives for what tax bill? You see, this is the circle that we can't quite figure out. Your company's coming in. I found that you're based in Romania. I saw your projects with turbines and all of that.
We have nothing to do with Romania. We don't have any
Where
projects.
is your turbine company located?
We have no turbine company. We're purely solar power plant developer.
Okay, so you're new in the United States, Horace? Is that?
No, not really. We've been here for several years. As I stated, the company was originally founded in the UK, I think, I want to say 2010, where our first projects have been. And since 17 or 18 is when we entered the US market. Our first projects have been in Texas, around the Houston area.
Okay. Well, we're getting in the weeds on this. It just goes to who benefits. That's all. That's all we're digging at is who benefits. That's the only question I had.
Sure, of course. So again, these as Diana has stated, we're not receiving any grants. We have not applied for any grants. The only thing that is available is tax credit, which are like tax breaks for the costs as a proportion of the cost of the solar power plant.
Okay.
And just to be clear, all these are funded through financing. So it's not like Horace is pocketing hundreds of millions of dollars. So just wanted to make that clear.
Well, thank you for that. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Patty.
I just want, I'm the newest person on this board, and I too am very sensitive to those that are impacted who live there. But I would like to ask Mr. Coxworth, as he told me before when I came on the board, he sort of defined what we have to use as a guideline to make a decision of this sort regarding, we have parameters of what this board or this commission is supposed to look at with regarding to grant a special use permit. Can you go through that again a little bit?
We can go over the analysis that we perform. It's in your memorandum. And then we base our recommendation on that analysis. But as commissioners individually, you could disagree with us and have reason for those disagreements. Public input that you've heard tonight could be a reason for denial or approval of any of our dockets.
Help me.
Thank you. It's been a good
Thank you.
discussion. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends approval of docket SU 2407 to allow a solar energy power plant with the following conditions. And I just would state that these conditions are fairly common with the solar projects that have been received special use authorization approval in the past. The project owners shall submit in advance or concurrent with their first commercial permit a traffic improvement and maintenance plan which successfully mitigates project impacts to Central Highway. The plan shall include but not be limited to a traffic control plan, a dust control plan, a road stabilization plan, and a road maintenance plan. Project owners shall apply a chemical stabilizer such as magnesium chloride to Central Highway during the project construction phase. Road preparation and application shall follow best practices to improve product performance and shall be in accordance with manufacturer specifications. Project vehicles and equipment shall not use North Frontier Road to access the project site during or after construction. The applicant shall submit an emergency response plan in conjunction with building permit submittals for county and fire responder review and approval. The Project owners shall include best management practices for dust mitigation and wind erosion with the dust control plan of the traffic improvement and maintenance plan. Minimize grading and vegetation removal. Landscaping with native plants can help support wildlife and pollinator species in an area while reducing dust and erosion. In areas where vegetation removal and or grading is required, schedule the process of vegetation removal to the minimum time required prior to module installation. Limit vehicle speed along Central Highway within project limits during facility construction to 25 miles an hour. Apply water to disturbed soil areas, including water trucks, to control dust and maintain proper moisture levels for soil compaction. Minimize over-application of water to prevent runoff and ponding. Suspend grading during periods of high wind. Cover all trucks hauling soil or other loose materials in and out of the project site. Gravel or aggregate should be used where access roads meet paved roads to limit off-site disturbance and prevent mud and dirt track out. Project owners shall conduct pre-construction surveys per the Migratory Bird Treaty Act prior to vegetation removal or ground disturbance associated with the project construction. Project owners shall exclusively use PV panels with an anti-reflectivity coating that is integral to the panel. All solar racks shall be installed to maintain no less than 12-foot minimum clear distance measured from outer edge of panels between all tracker rows. The applicant shall not exceed 38% ground cover ratio defined on panel area to total project area for the project site. A 4 to 6 inch gap between the bottom of project-related perimeter fencing and ground surface shall be reserved for small ground animal permeability, and the standard conditions relative to modification, permitting timelines, et cetera, also apply and have not been waived. Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes staff's recommendation.
Thank you. I'd like to call for the motion. Mr. Martsky?
I move to approve docket SU 2407, conditions of approval recommended by staff. Factors in favor of approval constitute the findings.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Limbaugh. Is there any further discussion before we vote?
I have a comment,
Mr. Watkins?
and it was brought up in the conditions, using water. We have a new AMA. You have to find somebody who has a industrial water permit to apply that water. So just make a note of it. And when they built the McNeil plant, they used a lot of water because I sold them. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I have one.
Mr. Martsky? Yes.
Seems to me, some of you know about it, some of you don't know, but I've lived all my life with power companies. My father was the transmission manager for Consolidated Edison in Eastern States. And I ended up with being the transmission manager in LAPCO here in Arizona, California, and into New Mexico. And to me right now, there's a lot of question marks behind what's going to happen to this power and who's going to get it. Do we have transmission capability? I don't know. We just had a new one put in across part of southern Cochise County that's still in construction phases out of in my home area. Where I live, I see those trucks every day. But there's a lot of questions in my mind that should be answered, I think, before we jump in the bandwagon and start saying, yeah. For this, I'm a big believer in solar, but I've got a lot of questions on this one, and this is the first one that had that many questions.
I got to add to that. I think this thing is moving, and it has moved pretty fast. Our application approvals for solar fields. There's got to be a better way to do this. I think that we can designate an area for the installation of solar fields. Here, we're about to vote on something that splits Central Highway down the middle. And that's a major corridor. We have enough land, the slag pile and other areas, and there's other states that have land that is not good cattle country. And I don't want to sacrifice any more cattle country for solar fields that are being built, and we're not really sure. We don't have the confidence to tell our constituents and explain to them the benefits that this fuels, the solar energy is going to do. We can't even tell them if they're going to get energy or not. And until those companies can tell us clearly and show us how we benefit from this, I don't see any benefits. So that's just my concern.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Limbach.
I apologize. I didn't want to utilize too much time earlier, but I did want to tell my colleagues and the public that I visited the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency website, and they have a table which is called a National Risk Index. And you can actually type in a county, which I did, Cochise County, and it will give you on a scale of very high to not applicable or very low. It'll tell you the risk index for avalanche, earthquake, hail, hurricane, so on and so forth. So the following that I'm going to read to you, Cochise County were rated either relatively high or moderate. So moderate is still concerning. So drought, relatively high, heat wave, high, lightning, high, flooding, high, strong wind. Actually, strong wind, surprisingly, they said low, but anyone that lives in Cochise County knows that that's not true. Wildfire, high. And even hail, they mentioned hail, I think, is low, which again, didn't make sense to me. Anyway, the point being that, in my opinion, these are all conditions within our county that are not really suitable for necessarily for mega solar farms. I'm done.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to call for the vote. And when you vote, please justify your vote. But can you do it in 1 to 3 words? Just say a word that reminds us why you're voting the way you're voting. Mr. Limbach, would you go first?
No, and I have stated my multiple reasons on the record, but I will stick with what I just told you.
Mr. Watkins?
I'm voting no because of my neighbors.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Voting no because I don't see the benefits to our communities.
Mr. Martsky?
Negative. I don't have no questions answered in my mind. I normally would.
Mr. Saunders?
Yeah, I vote no. I'm more concerned about the air traffic and concern, among others.
Ms. Pickett?
I vote no. For a number of reasons, but mainly I would not want this in my front door either.
Amen. The chair votes no because there is already too many solar panels in Cochise County, and the profitability during construction and contract sales has not been demonstrated. This motion fails. An individual disagreeing with this action has the right to appeal to the Board of Supervisors within 15 days. An application for appeal is available from the clerk at the office or online at cochise.ez.gov. And I thank you all very much for your patience.
Okay.
Change.
By chance, here's a moratorium that was written. I submitted it. I was supposed to be able to present it. We're supposed to vote on it. Unfortunately, I wasn't.
It's a moot point, sir.
It's the guidelines. I'm at the LEPC. I invite you all because it's kind of crazy. Their lives are in danger. Our lives are in danger. Thank you for considering it.
Thank you for your attendance. Mr. Coxworth,
Next month you have,
could you exit to the lobby, folks? We have a meeting.
Hey, George, take it outside.
Hello, we have a meeting to complete. Could you take it to the lobby? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next month, you have 5 dockets, 4 down zonings and 1 special use.
Okay. A little easier.
And thank you all for your,
Any solar?
no, I don't think we have any solar on. Do we have? No, nothing pending for solar right now. You've seen quite a bit. So far, and just because it gets entitled, I'd mentioned this before, just because you approve it doesn't mean it gets built. Some of these are speculatives. Sometimes it relies on interconnection. There's a lot of moving parts to these things, but getting the entitlement, because this question came up during the meeting, is really the first step. Nobody's going to spend any more money on a project unless they have some kind of entitlement through the permitting process.
Right.
So it does leave a lot of answers or questions unanswered. But anyway, we'll see you next month. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you. We should mention the website. The comprehensive plan website is up and running. It looks good. Y'all need to get familiar with it.
Yep. It's an ongoing process. Thank you for reminding me. And you get on the website. We'll be doing a little bit of a roadshow out into the community, but we're looking for as much community input as possible. And hopefully you'll start seeing draft elements of the comprehensive plan probably next year, I would assume. And
I think solar goals should be on the top of the list for the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
We got to get our act together.
Yeah.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.